By the way,
just like
you're live on
right there,
stream,
and
so anything that you're saying, guys can hear you on stream, gang.
Oh no.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
go
Well, I
crazy,
don't
bro.
want
I don't
to
care. Go
put my
crazy.
foot in my mouth.
Don't say
I
anything
don't
like
want to
in
go
pies
crazy.
though.
No. Yeah. No. All I was gonna say is just like I talked to him about it. I like hit him up on Twitter.
I don't
I
even
got
know
in a
who this
reply, and I was like, "Can you give me any?"
Iron Rule guy is, bro. Guys are just saying his name. I just found like there was a post he made, and I think he was wrong, and guys are
Yeah.
getting onto me.
I'm just saying. I hit him up in the reply, and I was like, "Can you give me any evidence that that's the case?" There were like other people too that were like, "I've never heard this before. Like, no one is saying this. Where are you getting this?" Right? Because I think it was so damning to the argument. Anyway, that's all I was gonna say. I'll let you stream, bro.
No, that's fine. You can stay. It's cool.
Also,
I'm still speaking to you. So my point, like, you see why like I get frustrated when people have these conversations, bro. I get really frustrated because people don't know how to talk.
Yeah.
Like if people learn common English, it's gonna be better for the world, bro. I'm telling you. But people don't understand common English.
I probably should get going. I gotta go. I gotta do some work.
All right, go. Take care, man.
Say that you will.
Thanks.
So, Sig, I have a question if you don't mind me asking.
Hold on, I'm gonna get going. I'm gonna start streaming.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, I'm gonna start now. All right. All right. Take care. Okay. If you're black, nothing for you. Alright. Yo, what's up, Holy? Not yet. Okay, so hey guys. Yeah, so a lot of people have really been getting onto me. There've been some, things that I want to sort of clarify, sort of things that I want to sort of respond to. Hi. If you're already new to the channel, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn on the notifications to see the next time that we upload on the video. What's the thing that I wanted to press? Oh, Streamlabs. Hey, if you guys want to, help donate, okay? Donation link works, so don't say the link doesn't work. Do not send super chats, but send it to streamlabs.com/SIIIIII10/tip. Okay, that did not help me. Yeah, please don't be saying stuff like Siggy my N-word E, you know what I'm saying? Let's actually try our best today. So, you can hear the fan in the other room. Why are you wearing this on your face? I always wear this on my face. I always do. Apologies for the other things at the back of the room. That is just literally my frames. Anyways. So, today we are having a conversation on a clip or a series of clips that have been going like absolutely insane. Yes, I was searching up what the concept of an e-girl was. Yes, that is very true. Rene de Chatillon will be punished, I swear it. Sig the goat who bodied Aegon. So, you guys know that there was a citation that was made recently today. By this guy called Pope Respector. Now, I don't know if has he taken down the tweet? I don't know. Has he taken down the tweet? Yeah, okay. Is the tweet still here? It is. Jay Dyer was busted using a spurious quote. So, this guy, Pope Respector, says that the quote is spurious. And I was like, brother, the quote is not spurious, bro. I'm not going to lie. I don't really know who this Pope Respector guy is, but whoever he is very interesting. He says that Jay Dyer was busted using a spurious quote in the Capturing Christ debate. This is why debates on history are so dangerous with dishonest actors like Jay. Literally can make up quotes and their followers would eat it up. So I don't actually think this was the case. I don't even think this was like remotely like close to true. This is just something that people have just been like basically pushing on this guy. Now a lot of people are going to ask me, yo, Sig, when is your debate review? Or the next debate review? I'm actually trying to set it up in such a way that can be even better, or at least one of the sections of the review that I'm going to do. So please forgive me if like I'm taking my time or I'm being too slow. If you want the rest of the VODs that I've been doing, please just head over to patreon.com/SIIIIG1. Literally, it's down there. Just go ahead, check that out. Hopefully you enjoy it, okay? and I hope that you basically have some really really good time, you know, enjoying those things. Now, what I'm gonna do is, can I now use it? What? That is embarrassing. That is embarrassing. That is embarrassing. Oh my gosh. Anyways, here's what we're going to do. So, this is the citation. Jay Dyer was busted using a spurious quote in the Capturing Christ debate. This is why debates on history are so dangerous with dishonest actors. So, this is the video, and I wanted to watch it with you guys.
There was a debate recently on the topic, do
Can you hear that if I go off the screen?
Christians and Muslims worship the same God? And you had Dr. Trent Doherty and Dr. Christopher Tamaszewski defending the Catholic and Eastern Orthodox position that Christians and Muslims worship the same God. And then you had Jay Dyer and Father Ananias defending their own position that they do not. And what Jay Dyer tried to do is he tried to show that Vatican II contradicted a bunch of previous statements from popes and councils of the Catholic Church. He quoted the Fourth Lateran Council that said, if you abandon your crusader vow against the Muslims, you're excommunicated. That doesn't contradict Vatican II, or that Christians and Muslims worship the same God. He quoted Pope Innocent III saying Muhammad's an antichrist. Again, that doesn't contradict Vatican II, or that Christians and Muslims worship the same God. He quoted Council of Vienne saying Christian kings are called to suppress Muslim worship. Again,
I don't really care about any of these things. This is like a theological argument, like, oh, this does not contradict my beliefs and my dogmas and my doctrines, so haha, there. I don't, again, care about any of this stuff whatsoever.
Doesn't contradict Vatican II, or that Muslims and Christians believe in the same God. He quoted Pope Calixtus III calling Islam a diabolical sect. Again, it doesn't contradict Vatican II or the fact that Muslims and Christians worship the same God.
Yeah, but worship doesn't mean refer to or know. I mean, Gregory Palamas says that you can know something without worshipping it. For example, clearly the devil knows who God is. He knows God, but he doesn't worship him. So you can know someone without worshipping them, but regardless.
However, he did have one quote that was pretty good here. Pope Urban II, I got it on the screen here, and it says that the Muslims worship demons. And that's a pretty good quote. It seems to contradict the fact
Okay, so he does actually think that if you worship a demon, you don't worship God. That's cool.
that they worship the same God.
Okay.
But Jay Dyer didn't tell you his source on this. This doesn't come from the pen of Urban II.
Did Jay ever claim that it came from the pen of Urban? Let me see. Capturing Christianity. If you're black, nothing for you. Oh, not this one. This is the wrong one. Apostate prophet? What the actual feck? Okay. I'm actually going to watch this live. How about that? I'm going to watch it live. See this debate, guys? I'm going to watch this debate live. I'm going to watch this live. How about that, guys? Should I do that, chat? Should I do that? Should I watch that live? Should I watch that live? Alright, let's see. Okay. So this is the citation. Yeah, I'm going to do it live. I'm going to do it live. I'm going to show you that. I'm going to show you live.
Previous statements. So I'm going to show that very quickly and very clearly. If we go to Pope Urban II calls for a crusade at the Council of Clermont in 1095. Here the Muslims are referred to as the infidels that worship demons. And this is the beginning of this turbulent relationship.
Hold on.
Clermont in 1095. Here the Muslims are referred to as the infidels that worship demons. And here the Muslims are referred to as the infidels that worship demons. And this is the beginning of this turbulent relationship from a crusade perspective. There is an earlier reference to extirpating them by Pope Sergius. 12th Ecumenical Council says that in terms of the quote Abrahamic faith, Lateran 4:12-15, Jews, for example, are not brothers in the Abrahamic faith because they are seen also as being heterodox, filthy, and like the Saracens, and are in fact supposed to.
Okay, so that is it. He never claimed that this was from the pen. Did you guys hear that any talk about the pen? Bear in mind, guys, you guys know me. I criticize Jay Dyer a lot, you know, like whenever he's wrong. But he's actually not wrong here, bro. Like, he never said it was from Pope Urban's pen. No one thinks that Pope Urban penned a council. So I don't understand why this would be a point that someone would make.
It's actually a speech.
Yeah, that's true. That is a speech, which would mean it's from his mouth. It's not from his pen, but it's from his mouth, which would be the same thing. So I don't really understand what it is you're getting at here.
And the speech was recorded by this 12th century French chronicler, Fulcher of Chartres.
Yeah, Fulcher of Chartres did record this speech. Yeah.
And it's like the speech that starts out with a crusade. And in fact, there are...
Should I do an open panel as well? I guess people would love to see like an open panel here, right? People would love to see like an open panel of me like doing stuff, right? You know, like a lot of people would like me to. If you want to come up and discuss, say it's like a wrong translation or anything, should I allow that? Should I allow that to be the case? That people should come up and talk and discuss. Because I'm very happy with whatever's going on. I want to say, how do I think? Yeah, okay, so this is the right book. 1920, I want to say. Why you not here with me? Can you break bread with me? Why you switch phone numbers like clothes? Why you can't answer me? Because I got more coming. Cause I got more coming. Oh, and his prologue. Okay. With epiphany, keep my name out your mouth like some wisdom teeth. Why I'm not there with you? You ain't answered my phone in so long. Why you not here
to
with me?
wear different things in public, and that Christian princes, in fact, should suppress Judaism and Jewish power. Now, they keep this in mind because today we're talking about whether Jews, Christians, and Muslims all refer to the same, quote, God. It doesn't appear to be the case. And in the Middle Ages, they thought this way in this. And I understand that people are going to say, well, but Thomas teaches natural theology in the Middle Ages. Roman Catholic theology is guided by its magisterium. That's what Catholics are bound by. It's not an academic guided faith. It's actually a magisterial faith. The Fourth Lateran Council calls for a crusade, the Fifth Crusade, and to abandon this duty results in excommunication. So if you do not fight against the Muslims, you are then excommunicated. The Fifth Crusade, 1217, Pope Innocent III again does a papal bull, Quia Major. Muhammad is in fact...
All right, so Quia Major is fine.
We don't need to believe that this chronicle is infallible. It could be wrong.
Yeah, so this is the thing. So you said, we don't need to quote this in order for you to be infallible. I don't really understand that. If you're saying that text citations aren't infallible, then in what way can we ever know that the writing of a particular person is actually infallible if they can be wrong in like the lexical style that they choose? You know, like clearly the Pope, when he writes a document, you know, would need to go through other people fallibly who would dictate it. Let's say the Pope says something, and then, another person dictates it. Are you saying that because the other person isn't protected with the gift of infallibility, then that means that the Pope isn't able to explain, pass on the actual infallible content that's there, given the fact that the other person in question isn't infallible? See, that's a big issue to me, so I would never take this position.
In the recording of that speech, and it probably is.
And you wouldn't even need to do that. But you're saying that he was wrong in the way that he recorded the speech.
Because there are 4 other versions of that speech. They're all contained in this volume here. And they are Robert the Monk, the Gesta Francorum, Baldric of Dol, and Guibert of Nogent. And they all say that, and none of them bring up this quote that they worship demons. So Fulcher of Chartres is probably wrong. He's not infallible. He's not the magisterium. We don't have to believe in him. Fulcher of Chartres was wrong in recording that they worship demons. Muslims and Christians worship the same God as Catholicism and Eastern Orthodoxy both teach.
So he said that, you heard it there, right? It probably is wrong because there are 4 other versions. Well, we can look at these 4 versions and see what actually was going on. Now, these 4 other versions, as you can clearly see, all of them use the Gesta Francorum as a main source text. But only one of them, who is Fourcade de Chartres, actually writes within the time frame and writes claiming to be an eyewitness. He specifically says that he does not use that in this way. And in fact, he asks other people to edit his documents beforehand. And he says, if you're going to edit this, please do not sacrifice, coherent speech and thought for the sake of truth. Now, what's important is, according to the actual paper that I read, which is here, as you can see, he actually asserts in the prologue that he was recorded, that he, which is Fourcade de Chartres, Fourcade of Chartres, only recorded those events which he saw with his own eyes. Now, we know that because we can go to his actual history here of Jerusalem, right? His history of Jerusalem. You could go to it here and you can look at any pages and numbers. Now, a lot of people in the comments of my video, they mentioned the fact that scholarship also believes that the Gesta Francorum was also used by, Fourcade of Chartres. Yes, I agree with you that the Gesta is used to explain the event of the crusade, but it isn't used to explain the specific speech. Actually, on that level of the speech, specifically of that mention of the text, okay, is specifically this complete rendition of the speech. That text is not written by the Gesta, and Fourcade does not use the Gesta to explain what's going on. Now, to get even more down to the dirt of what's going on, he actually explicitly mentions certain events that the Gesta does not, which gives the context that he's using a source independent of the Gesta when explaining the speech, because he's not relying on just the data that the Gesta provides. He's using other data. Now, there is a specific text that's also used to do this stuff as well, which is whether or not Fourcade's Chronicle is a mistranslation of what's going on here. Now, you are arguing that the academic mistranslates the word that's actually going on here, but the actual phrase that's going on here very clearly is daemonum ancilla. Daemonum ancilla simply means the servant of a demon. Now, my question would be to you, in the context of Muslims, if they are serving a demon with knowing consent that they are serving this particular entity, then that would mean that they worship demons. The phrase is translated by the author idiomatically. It's an idiomatic phrase. The same way when Paul refers to himself as a servant of Christ, he is saying that he worships Christ. Now, the reason why is because of the definition of the word worship or latria, which means absolute servitude that's given to God alone. And as a matter of fact, Jesus Christ talks about the fact that no man can have two masters, which is the idea of worshipping God and money. Right? So if you cannot worship God and money, you can't serve God and money, you can't be a slave to God and a slave to money, then you cannot worship God whilst serving a demon, because worship requires absolute servitude to God. So that would mean that the phrase servant of a demon or daimona mancilla would have to be translated in modern day English as the worshipper of a demon or the servant of a demon, that they serve demons. That would be the way. But also the bigger issue as well is the fact that there is no actual Latin word for worship or latria. The only Latin word that exists is adorator. Adoratio or adorata is only used to mean adoration, which is why you have the adoration of the Eucharist and things like this. But simply because a person is, not able to use the word adorata doesn't mean that they're not communicating the language of worship. Like in the Latin Vulgate, they don't say that Paul is a worshipper of God. They say he's a servant of God, because being a servant of God means worshipping. And so the converse would probably be true as well, that being the servant of a demon means you're worshipping the demon with consent. So that is explaining the point here. I just wanted to make this sort of live stream to talk about what was going on with that citation, because people wanted to say that I was actually wrong with that citation, but I wasn't. I was actually fine. I was actually correct. As you can see here, he goes through all four of these citations, but this is actually scholars' opinions. And it's saying that scholars accept Forker's rendition as the most trustworthy of all the renditions. It is indeed not only the first report by a writer who claims to be an eyewitness, but it's also based on the text of the decrees of the Clermont Council. So he is the only source that actually uses, if we go back, he's the only source that actually uses Pope Urban VI's letter that he gave to the church, the letter of instruction that he wrote in 1095. Forker de Chartres is the only person that actually does that. And we can see that evidence in the fact that he quotes that in the Jester. But you can also ask the academic translations that were provided by Dana Monroe, right? Where he translates those particular texts in, 1895 and things like this, much later. But an even better way of translating these particular things, or if you look at the translations now, he translates more of the monk's work. But if we look at, again, this particular source, this is actually coming from a text in 1905. This is the medieval source book that Edgar Holmes McNeill uses, as well as Oliver Thatcher and things like this. So they translate it in this way. And this is a pre-Vatican II translation, which is actually more important. Because the translation is before Vatican II, this idea of Muslims worshipping the same God or not worshipping demons, hasn't been established yet. And so this is something that you would see as a more honest rendition of how Western theologians dealt with this particular thing. So that is it. That's literally it. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up a StreamYard link. If you guys want to come up and talk, if you guys want to come up and discuss on like this issue, then I'm very happy to do so. If you don't want to come up and discuss, hey, that's also okay too. So, that's completely fine. Mods, make sure they get that picture, this image. And yeah, I don't actually, I in this case, actually think that Jay Dyer was correct. I usually think that he might be correct, that he might be incorrect on certain things. But on this particular occasion, I think that Jay was right. And I think that a lot of people want to lambast him, or they want to demonstrate that he's bad at what he does, or that he's wrong with what he acts like. But I think in this case, that's actually unwarranted. So if you want to come up and discuss, if you want to come up and talk, the StreamYard link has been put in the description. Please feel free to come up and talk. Feel free to come up and have a conversation or any number of conversations. I would love to have you. But yeah, I'm just going to literally wait and keep going through this particular thing. But what we're going to do is we'll do a debate review of Apostate Prophet. Would I say that Jay won the debate? I haven't finished my review, so I can't say that he won the debate. I can't say that because I haven't finished reviewing it. I saw this particular point of history and I wanted to address it. If you want to come up and talk to me about whether Muslims and Christians worship the same God, then please come up and talk. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to change the title. I'm actually going to change the title of whether Muslims and Christians worship the same God, right? So yeah, I'm gonna come up and do that. Do you think he's correct when he says that the Orthodox Church is the one true church? Wink, wink. Haha, nice play. That was very good. That was very nice. That was a very nice maneuver. It was a very nice try, I should say. You know, that was very good. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna, bro. I'm definitely gonna review. You know, Apostate Prophet. I'm definitely gonna review that debate. I am absolutely 110%. I'm absolutely 110%. I'm definitely gonna review that. For a fact, I'm gonna review that. I'm definitely gonna review that. Right, we got. Gabe, you do not have a microphone or a camera, so connect your microphone and camera, and then you can talk. Join, and then you can talk. Mods, can you ping that message? So, I want to be very clear. I'm not reviewing this debate anymore until when I set it up again. I'm actually going to do another review live. I'm going to be doing this live for you guys, for chat. Live for you guys, for chat. I'm going to be reviewing whether Allah is the same as Yahweh. I'm going to be reviewing that live. I don't have any pretext. I don't have any sort of background information on this. It's just going to be something that you guys can come and see, where I basically talk about whether or not this guy, Dr. Trent Doherty, is correct, and whether or not Ridvan Ali Damir is correct or not. So I'm very excited for this. Now, I want to look at the way that he usually frames this stuff. Allah and Yahweh, same being or totally different deities. Apostate prophet and Catholic philosopher Trent Doherty clash minds. Well, why don't they say Eastern Orthodox thinker? You should say thinker, you know, be nice. Clash minds, not fists, in this unexpectedly calm deep dive into one of theology's most explosive questions. Well, whether Christians and Muslims worship the same God. It's just not a problematic question, is it? They don't worship God, they worship demons. They can recognize God because they can recognize the Christian concept, and they disagree that the Christian concept is true. But that doesn't mean that they apply worship to it. But someone can say that there is referential failure when they worship God, but when they refer to the God of the Christians, they're actually referring to the Christian concept of God and saying that that particular concept is wrong. So, yeah, again, like I said, okay, Gabe, I know you're in the chat. You don't have this. All right. Gabe says, how do you square this with the fact that all 5 patriarchs believe that Muslims and Christians worship the same God, as well as John of Damascus and Thomas Aquinas? Could you show me where the 5 patriarchs of the Orthodox Church, wait, are you saying the Pentarchy? When you say all 5 patriarchs, what do you mean? You mean the Pentarchy? Okay, look, Gabe, I'm going to kick you, okay? I'm going to kick you from the studio. You are able to come back, okay? You're able to come back, but your camera doesn't work, so you're not able to act 12. There are at least 12 patriarchs. So he said there's 5. He said there's 5, but there are at least 12 different patriarchs that exist. Did the stream stop? No, the stream did not stop. The stream is here. Also, the clash minds, not fists, is funny since that Catholic dude threatened to beat up Jay. Is that true? He threatened to beat Jay up. I did not know that. Don't spoil it for me. I hope Jay will spot AP a point or two of advice on how to win this debate handedly. With what AP knows, I think he can really maximize damage to Trent on this issue and deliver the finishing move. Okay. Apparently, Jay left the debate early, which is a terrible look. You should never, ever leave a debate early. Never, ever, 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 ever. Never, ever, ever. You should always stick it out to the end and make sure that you completely finish it. Don't ever leave. That's my personal opinion. Still going for me? Cool. The Catholic Kai tried to defend Jay Dyer to fight. Tried to challenge him to a fight. Yeah, I think they should fight. I think, really, they should fight. You know, put your money where your mouth is and fight. You know, I think they should. I think it's impious, sure, but like I think they should do it. Did he leave early for a particular reason or crash out? I don't know. I think he. People were saying that he left. So this is what the grapevine told me. I pay attention to the grapevine. The grapevine told me that he left because he felt that people weren't addressing the topics that he wanted to talk about. So he said, "I'm done with this," and he left. Now people are interpreting this as a crash out, understandably so. Jay Dyer is top 3 rage baiter apologist. It's funny though. Okay, yeah. He even waived $1,000. Where's an academic getting $1,000 from, bro? Where's he getting bread like that from, bro? This guy said a thou wow. Jay Dyer's top 3. Jay left early because he had plans with his wife. Ah, okay. He said it in the stream before he left that he would need to leave early. Completely fine then. Why do Eastern Saints believe that Muslims and Christians worship the same God? Again, we have a StreamYard link that's open. Okay. We have a StreamYard link that's open. If you want to talk about whether Christians and Muslims worship the same God, please come up and talk. I am very, very happy with having you come up and talk as to whether Christians and Muslims worship the same God. As a matter of fact, we can go live on TikTok and we can do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Should we do that instead? René Deschatillon will be punished. René Deschatillon will be punished. I swear it. Also, Jay doesn't rage bait. What is with you guys? Some of you must be new running the ones. What side of the debate are you in? So if you're asking me what position do I take the position that Christians and Muslims do not worship the same God. Yeah. I take that position. All right. So I take that thing. This is silly, Chow. What do you mean it's silly? What the helly? What the heliante? What the helion? What the heli Berry? What the heli Burton? What the heli Bron James? What the heli Miley Cyrus? You know? It's a silly question. Of course we don't. Yeah, sure. You can say it's a silly question. You can say all you want that it's a silly question, but it's a question that you have to answer. You have to answer whether or not Christians and Muslims worship the same God. They straight up refuse to answer anything he asked, and that's a shame. But I don't think you should leave a debate just because, you know. But you're saying that he left not because of that, but he left because he felt as though people weren't addressing anything that he was saying. Which, again, is completely understandable. Okay. Are we live now? What are we doing? What are we doing, man? What are we doing, man? Hold on. Give me a second, guys. I'm trying to really fix this up. Alright. Okay, it's not working. Okay. Who? Jay left because he had something to do as well. Loki, that's what's being said about Dr. Joshua Sijuwade. Is that what you're saying? I mean, if he did say he had a cut off earlier in the debate, then fair enough. I joined halfway through seeing Trent flash cash on the stream. Have Eastern Orthodox historically believed Muslims and Christians worship the same God, or should you not view doctrine within the lens of the church? Okay. Do you want to come up and speak? You know, like, it's fine. You can come up and speak, man. I mean, you know, like, you can definitely come up and speak. All right, cool. Finally. That was a long time. Okay. All right. What the? Why is the connection bad? What the hell? Okay, so I know for a fact. Yeah, let's just change that. Okay. All right, Muslims, come up. Christians and Muslims worship different gods. Come up, step right up, step right up, step right up. Okay. Step right up. Christians, Muslims, different gods. Let's go. Let's go. All right, we got the first guest, KB Crusader. KB, what's up?
What up, dude?
God bless you. How you doing?
You too, man. How you doing?
Doing absolutely decent, mate.
That's good, man.
Okay, so
That's good.
are you
You can drop me if you can drop me if you want. I just wanted to sit in.
Are you Catholic?
I'm Orthodox, bro.
You're Orthodox. Okay. So do you believe that Muslims and Christians worship the same God?
No.
All right. Okay. Well, we're looking for people that disagree, so we're gonna have to move you down.
No worries,
Okay.
bro. God bless. Have a good night.
Have a good night. If you're a Catholic, head up to the. Sorry, I'm not talking to you anymore, KB. Thanks. If you're a Catholic, head on over to my live stream on TikTok. We're live there as well. We're gonna be talking about a whole bunch of stuff. If you were to steel man their position, in what way would you do it? That's the best argument that you think you could give to them. All right. Mods, instead of promoting the StreamYard link, could you promote my link to the a link to my TikTok live, please? Could you promote that link? Trent does admit that he was taunting Jay. Okay. Yeah, mods, instead of promoting the StreamYard link, we're gonna hold off on StreamYard for a bit. We're gonna hold off. I'm gonna remove this guy. Jordan Jefferson, I'm gonna remove you. Are you a Catholic or Orthodox? Head over to TikTok. We're talking on TikTok. Let's see. Remember when you debated Ahmed? Is there still a video on it or no? There is still a video that's up. Yes, there is still a video. Yeah. If you want to talk to me on whether Catholics, Muslims, or Christians and Muslims worship the same God, step right up. All right, we can talk about it. We can absolutely talk about it. Okay. If I go. All right, cool. Yeah. Christians, Muslims, different gods. Let's see. You remember when the Oriental Orthodox lad meltdown on St. Ambrose Diophysite confession? Yes. Have you had run-ins with Islamic Apex? Yes, I have. Orthodox Nebula. Hey, what's up, Orthodox Nebula? I'm not Catholic. I'm still discerning. However, I wouldn't reject the historical Church of the West without putting in proper study. Okay? I don't think the Orthodox Church rejects the historical Western Church either. I think they just reject certain teachings that the aspects of the Western Church has had for some times. There is only one God, bro? Okay. I'm not Catholic. I'm still discerning. Fine. Apex told Sig the Quran doesn't exist. Oh, yeah. He did actually say that. This is actually true. This is actually very, very true. Oh, we had a Catholic request, and he put it down. He put the request down. We're gonna wait. What's up, big bro? What's up? Let's wait for it. Let's see whether or not they come up. You know? Let's see whether or not they... Let me just do that. Dr. Khalil came on Bryce J's channel live and was laughing about the same thing. let's see whether or not somebody is going to come on. Somebody called Trent. I don't think Trent actually believes that he worships the same God as a Muslim. I don't think when a Muslim says Allahu Akbar, he's thinking, yeah, man, he's definitely worshipping like Muslim, bro. It's weird, isn't it? No one's trying to challenge me. I don't know why. I don't think I would expect a challenge, but, you know. We got Honorius here. All right, Honorius, what's up?
Yo, what's up, man? I just want to say, bro, as a traditional Catholic, I 100% agree. And for Pope Urban II, if you go to the correct translation with the contextual understanding, it actually does mean worship. And St. Augustine, City of God, Book 8, uses it in the sense of worship. So Dr. Trent Doherty, Cameron Bertuzzi, all those guys actually didn't understand how to translate the Latin. But that's all I wanted to say.
Well, the word daemonum ancilla means servant of a demon. The same way that doulo theos means servant of God. But the term
but in the
servant of
context,
God...
it can mean worship.
Yeah, the term servant of God or servitude means worship. In fact, we translate the word worship to mean serve. In the context of deities, in the context of deity, consensual service to a deity is worship. So, you know.
100%, bro. They were completely dishonest in their translation of it, or at least understanding of the translation. But that's all I wanted to say, man.
God bless you.
God bless.
All right. So move on to the next guest. Okay, Jordan Jefferson, Wagwan, man. Sure, you wanna hop in an AMG? If you wanna watch man whip it again. Jordan Jefferson, what's up? AP just talking a lot now, walking enough, I think, again. All right, Jordan Jefferson's down. Let's go to the next guest. We got DS D Shuseki. Yeah.
Hello?
Hello.
Oh, is it-
Whoa. Okay.
oh, my bad. Hello?
Hello. What's up?
Yeah, my bad. Anyway, yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Bro, is it true that you're gonna become Catholic, bro?
Yeah, I'm gonna become Catholic, mate.
Why?
I think the Catholic Church is cool.
Why?
Okay. So again, I just want to know.
Cool. That's it.
Okay, so can I ask you a question? Do you have a disagreement with the prompt?
Yeah.
Okay, do you think Christians and Muslims worship the same God?
Christians, Muslims. No, I don't.
Okay, so you don't think a Christian and a Muslim worship the same God? Okay, good. I agree.
No. Of course not.
Okay, cool. So then you don't disagree.
I just came to check in. All right. See you later.
Take care, man. Take care. Have you heard of Halal Christian? No. I don't even care about her, bro. Like, dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. All right. Let's see the next guest. Okay. I thought you were EO. All right, we got Dion here. We got DC. We got DC. A machine over here. A machine here.
It's just the font, bro. It's just Dion, bro.
It's alright, man. How you doing, man? You okay?
You call me a machine?
A machine over here. Alright, so...
I thought you said Miskeen at first. I was like, wow.
No. I'm not that mean. Okay? I'm not that mean.
Oh, what's up, brother?
Nothing much, brother. Got a strap on me, no lesbo.
Hey.
I was want to know. So you believe that Christians and Jews worship the same God? Is this true?
Jews?
Do you think Christians are Muslims? Sorry, not Jews. Christians are Muslims.
Yeah. I thought, yeah.
Why?
In a sense, yeah.
Okay. In what sense do Christians and Muslims worship the same God?
In the sense that, like, people who aren't formalized to like who God is can like give like reverence towards him and their capability and capacity that they can.
Okay,
So like my
so
capacity to worship, right?
yeah,
Not even like let's say Muslims, but like we could take Protestants, right? I
yeah.
believe Protestants like worship God, but like
Well, I
when
think
say
that's because Protestants recognize the Trinity.
well, yeah, of course, right? But we know like the fullness of this is gonna be like the Eucharist, and Protestants don't have the Eucharist, right?
Okay,
But it
so
doesn't mean that they're not worshiping it.
well, Protestants don't have the Eucharist for a Catholic, but worship again is needs to be defined very specifically. Like, what does worship mean in this like context?
I'm just gonna say it just means like to honor.
Okay, so to honor,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Do you agree with me that you can know something without honoring it?
You can know something without. Yeah.
Okay, so do you think that Muslims know that the Trinity is a thing?
I don't think all Muslims do. No.
Okay, you don't think
I don't
all
think.
Muslims
No, I
know?
don't think.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Islam as a religion in itself, right,
Mhm.
would posit the belief of the Trinity. In fact, all Muslims would be aware of the verse, Surah 5:116, which says, "Don't say Trinity." So they would need to know what the Trinity is, because they
Yeah,
recite
but
it.
I don't think they know what the Trinity is because the Quran doesn't explicate the Trinity.
The Quran explicates that you shouldn't say three, which means Trinity.
Well, it says like 3/4.
It doesn't say 3/4. It says three, which means Trinity.
Maybe I'm butchering it, but it's not just 3. It's like 3 something. It's
No,
like,
it says, "Do not say three. It's better for you. Allah is one." And
Well,
that's specifically
Allah
revealed
is-
to counteract the idea that the Trinity as a doctrine is okay.
Well, we don't believe 3. We believe 1.
You
believe
don't
in only
believe
one.
in the triad?
I believe in the triad.
Okay, so you
But I
do
think-
believe three. You do believe three, for sure you do.
In a sense, but I think that Quranic verse is just talking about like the divine essence.
It's not. There's no Christian that believes that there are three divine essences. This is like a made-up thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so
Oh,
then
exactly.
when the Quran, which is referring to Christians, says Christians don't say three, he's not saying don't say three essences, because Christians in the Arabian Peninsula never said three essences.
Of course.
Okay, so again, I have to ask you, they are denying the Trinity because they know of the Trinity by their own text. They
No, I don't
know
think
what
they
it
say
is.
the Trinity.
Well, yeah, they know what the proposition is.
Well, no, the Trinity is the Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Yeah, they
No,
deny
that's-
any sense of plurality of persons.
Well, no. If I was to say like,
Do Muslims
Father-
accept?
If I was to say like Father, Goat, Bird, doesn't mean that's a Trinity, right? So just because it says
That
like,
would mean
3,
that would, if I say
like,
father,
Trinity.
goat, bird, that would mean that there is a triad of things you're talking about. But the problem is
I
well,
wouldn't use that language.
well, the problem, look, the problem is that Muslims aren't denying a specific kind of triad. They're denying any sort of triad, which would include the Trinity. Because they're saying it's to Christians. They're not talking about just saying three generally. They're talking about don't say three Christians. So whatever the Christians meant by three, which would mean the three
Can you
persons.
read the verse for me?
Okay, I'll do my best.
Recite it in Arabic for me.
Okay, so I
I'm
don't, I
not
can't.
an Arabic speaker.
You're an Arabic speaker.
Yeah.
It's probably like Surah 4, 171, I want to say. And yeah, so it says, O people of the scripture, do not commit excess in your religion, or say about Allah except the truth. The Messiah, Jesus, the son of Mary, so they're talking to Christians, was but a messenger of Allah, and his word which he directed to Mary, and a soul created at a command from him. So believe in Allah and his messengers, and don't say three. Desist, it is better for you. Indeed, Allah is but one God. Exalted is he above having a son. So the idea of God is a God that has a son. So let's say, for example, Muslims, right, know that Christians believe that God has a son, as an example. Let's say God is the father for them. Would they worship the thing that has a son? Can't hear you, Dion. Say that again. Say again. Okay, my phone audio is like down. Okay, I need to. Maybe I need to do this again. Go on.
Can you hear me?
No, I can hear you. It's just yeah. Anyways, whatever. So you're saying Christians and Jews worship different gods, right?
Christians and Jews?
Sorry, not Christian Jews. Christian Muslims worship the same God.
Oh, yeah, in a sense.
Okay, well, what sense of worship?
What sense of worship?
Yeah, you said in a sense they worship God. So that means that there's a sense in which they don't worship God.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the
So,
sense
like,
in which they worship God?
which they do, showing like honor and reverence to the Creator. There's only one Creator.
Okay, so they show honor and reverence to the Creator.
Yeah, it's gonna be a form of worship.
But the term Creator doesn't signify a generic thing. It signifies an attribute. You can show reverence towards an attribute. That doesn't mean that you're,
Well, when I say
worshipping.
Creator, I just mean God, brother.
Okay, so again, you're assuming that by worshipping God, that means they're worshipping God. Like, that's the thing you're supposed to prove.
You have to repeat that for me.
Okay, so listen to what you said. You said they worship God in a sense because they adore the Creator. And then I asked, what does Creator mean? Creator is an attribute. It's not a person. You said, no, Creator just means God. So that means they adore God because they adore God. So I'm going to ask you, how do they adore God?
In the best capability they can. I don't know. Right. I just
In order to adore God, you need to adore. Okay, in order to adore God, right? Do you adore an essence or do you adore a person?
I think you can adore like both.
Okay, how do you adore the divine essence?
How do I adore it?
Yeah.
Well, like to us, it's gonna be like how it's like.
I don't think there's any Muslim that actually has any account of essence that's real. They're not real essentialists, so there's no real existence of the essence.
I don't think there's really majority of Muslims who even like understand what Christians like how we worship.
Sure, but you're saying that Muslims do this thing, so that means that they know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're saying that they worship an essence. So, Dion, they don't believe that essences are real. So are they worshipping something that's not real?
Well, no, the Creator is real.
Okay, but Creator is an attribute.
Creating is an attribute.
Creator
is like
a
subject, which is creating. So it's like denoting something.
No, Creator is an attribute of something. The same way footballer is an attribute of something.
No, I wouldn't say footballer is an attribute of something.
Yes, it is. What? Wait,
I'd say footballing or football.
No. A footballer. Okay, so footballer does not pick out a person. It doesn't. As a matter of fact, right? The term Creator doesn't pick out any of the divine persons, does it?
What do you mean, pick out any other divine person?
Does the term the one Creator pick out any of the divine persons?
What do you mean by pick out? Like being in reference to?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which person does it pick out?
All three.
Okay. But when they say one Creator, they're not picking out any divine person because they don't believe divine persons exist. Their
they
intention.
Don't even know what divine person is.
Yeah, exactly. So their intention of Creator isn't to pick out a person. There's nothing there to refer to.
Do you believe they could have a zeal for God?
That they can have a zeal for God.
Yeah.
They can like grope. But that doesn't mean that they have zeal. Zeal means that you actually are successful in what you're applying to. That's what zeal is, right? When someone is zealous for something. Okay, well, okay. What's your definition of zeal? What do you think zeal is? It's enthusiasm, right? You're enthusiastic towards some sort of end goal. But if you don't know the end goal, then you can't be enthusiastic about it.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying, and the philosophy, brother. I'm not good at philosophy.
That's why I'm trying not to do philosophy with you.
Say again?
That's why I'm not trying to do phil with you, bro.
Yeah, I know, bro. I just merely when the statements are made, oh, the Muslims, they worship the same God in a sense. It's just going to be like how Scripture and the early fathers denoted. And according to Scripture, Romans 10, verse 1 and 2, Paul says the Jews who don't know the Trinity have a zeal for God. And the God in reference is the Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Well, the Jews... Okay, so the Jews in the past had a zeal for God. And then
this is in the future, brother.
They in Romans 10 when they come back? You mean when they come back to the faith?
What do you mean when they come back to
They're going to come back to the faith. The whole point of God reconciling the Gentiles is so that he can bring the Jews back.
Well, yeah, no, of course.
Okay,
but
so then...
What it's denoting there, though, is that these Jews who didn't know about the Father, Son, Holy Spirit had
No, the Jews knew about the Father. They just denied the Son. But that means that they know that the Son is a thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, if they know that the Son's a thing, right?
Yeah.
But we know that the Trinity is the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. How can they have a zeal for the Father, Son, Holy Spirit?
So bear in mind, they can incorrectly worship the true God. That's not the same as worshipping a false God. So Muslims worship a false God. Jews worship, right, the true God falsely. Because they started off believing in the person of the Father and acknowledging a triad in their history. That's true. God, His Word, and His Spirit. But then they denied the identity of one of the persons in that triad while keeping the existence of the other one. So, yes, they would just worship him wrongly. But I would be very comfortable with like John Chrysostom, who says like Jews don't even worship God. Right?
Well, John Chrysostom also says that the pagans in Acts 17 were worshiping God as well. But
hold on. Okay, so
what do you do you think a Jew after they are formalized to the gospel?
Hold on. We're discussing John Chrysostom. So where does John Chrysostom say that the pagans worshipped God?
Oh, you want me to pull it up for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, here. Let me get it.
Because we've gone through the thought concept. You weren't able to get that out. Now we're going to go to the patristics.
Well, no, we were dealing with patristics and scripture because
we weren't.
My faith is going to be grounded within patristics and scripture.
No, you weren't. You first of all said that in a sense they do, but you couldn't provide any sense. Then you started talking about zeal, and I was like, look, zeal won't work here. You need to know the thing that you're being zealous about. But the thing they know that they intend is not towards a person. They don't intend towards that. When they commit the action of servitude, they do not intend towards any person. That's a problem. Now, what homily...
I was going, though, with it,
okay, so then it's not a father, right? You haven't mentioned any church fathers there.
Okay. Cool. So what I was going to denote with that is that the Jews who were not formalized to the gospel still had a zeal for God.
Where in Romans... Okay, so Romans 10, right? I'm here now. Okay.
Romans 10 specifically going to be verse 1 to 2.
So
and the context of it is going to be prior within Romans 9, I believe 33 to 35, speaking of Jews.
Okay, Romans 9, verse 33 to 35, we can just read. But there's no verse 35. Verse 35 doesn't exist.
Oh, okay. Then probably from like 33 until the end.
33 is the end.
Oh, it is? Oh, okay. Then it'll probably be 27.
So it says, what shall we say?
That last paragraph.
Sure. What shall we say then? The Gentiles who did not pursue righteousness. So Paul says the Gentiles didn't pursue righteousness. So they didn't go after it. Have attained to righteousness, even the righteousness of faith. But Israel, who did pursue the law of righteousness, so they were doing it in the past, they have not attained to the law of righteousness. Why? Because they didn't seek it in faith, but as it were, by works of the law. So his zeal is connected to pure action. So this isn't any aspect of worship. It doesn't even say that they worship God here.
Yeah, but
They
the
have
thing
a
that you
zeal
mentioned-
for God,
Yeah, bro.
but not according to... Again, look, they have a zeal for
You
God,
have to allow me to
but
speak.
not according to knowledge.
Yeah, exactly, but not according to knowledge.
So they have empty
So
zeal.
You're showing, Paul is denoting that the Jews still have a zeal for God, and the
Yeah.
God that Paul is mentioning there is the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, though they don't know him. And my question was, before I'm about to read John Chrysostom after this, my question was, do Jews still worship
But we're
the
not
same
talking
God?
about Jews, we're
Wait,
talking about
brother,
Muslims.
You have to allow me to finish, brother.
Okay, I'm allowing you to finish, but
Please,
we are
thank
getting
you.
off topic.
I was just, no, we're not getting off, but I have John Chrysostom up there. I
Okay,
just wanted to
do
make this point
Muslims,
before we
okay,
went to that.
do Muslims worship the one God in the same aspect that Jews worship the one God?
Yeah, not according to knowledge.
Okay, so Jews accept that God is a father, and so when God is being used there, it is simply denoting they used to worship God correctly, now they don't. But they still acknowledge their history. Muslims have never had a history of acknowledging God as the father.
Okay, and Jews have never acknowledged God at all. Then, if we're going to stick with that, because God is not merely just the Father.
How would that
He's the Father,
follow?
Son, Holy Spirit.
No. Again,
Well, like I was saying,
denying
though,
one
can
of
a
the
Jew-
persons
can a
blocks
Jew
access from that.
If a Jew
But when
rejects
we're
the
talking
gospel,
about
brother,
worshipping,
not even letting me finish, bro. What's up with you?
I'm trying my best to let you finish, but
You're not, because you're
Okay.
speaking over.
I was actually speaking, and
Well, I
you
was
had a
asking my
point that
question, and I
you
allowed
wanted
you to
to
speak
interrupt
over.
me.
Well, I was asking my
All
question.
right,
and
you
then
know
get
what?
to
It's
finish
cool.
it.
Okay. Look, we need
Yeah,
to keep with
if
the.
a Jew, if
All
a
right.
Jew, if a Jew who doesn't know the gospel, if they end up rejecting the gospel, are they worshiping a false god?
Okay. So, do they keep their prior state of knowledge regarding God?
Prior state of knowledge.
Yes.
Sure.
Before they had the gospel, they had a prior state of knowledge concerning God. So they believed that Jews believe God is a father, and he has a word, and he has a spirit. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So they acknowledge a triad in God according to the Old Testament. The reason why Jews worship God falsely in this scenario is because the Jews deny the identity of one of those things as it's been presented in reality to them.
I agree with you.
Okay,
I'm asking
but
if
Muslims...
the Jews, brother, wait. If the Jews
didn't
are
finish.
presented with the gospel, but my question wasn't answered.
I
If the
didn't
Jews are presented-
finish.
Okay, go ahead, bro. It's
In the
about
case
Jews. I don't know.
in the case of Muslims deny all persons and any concept of person. So they don't even intend in any inaccurate sense towards God. Like, let's say if I...
to worship as they claim the God of Abraham, because
Okay.
they know about Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and the prophets.
Okay, when the Catholic Church uses the phrase Abraham, what does the Catholic Church mean by the term Abraham?
Prophet.
Prophet where?
He was a Canaanite, I believe.
Some Canaanite... He was... Okay, so some
He was a
Canaanite
Canaan.
Hebrew... Yeah, okay, so... They mean the Abraham as maintained in the Bible. Okay, so the Abraham that's in the Bible, they believe that that is what they're referring to as Abraham. Now, do Muslims believe that the Abraham in the Bible is identical to the Abraham in the Quran?
Well, they would make that claim.
They would not.
Yeah, they would.
No, they think the Bible's corrupted. So they think the Abraham that's
Brother,
mentioned
I'm
in the
not talking
Bible
about that
is
with
not...
animals.
Bro, all Muslims believe the Bible's corrupted. They don't think the Bible's true.
Brother, but they believe that they're worshiping the God of the Bible, though.
They don't. They don't think the Bible's the word of God. They think it's
Yeah,
been
they-
corrupted. So it's
Bro,
not the word of God.
They can say that the Bible's been corrupted, but they will still make the notion and claim that we are going to worship the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, as shown in the Torah. And
So
in
the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, as maintained by the Quran, not as maintained by the Bible, which is what Catholics are referring to when they say the word Abraham.
Okay, but even if we stick with this notion, let's say
Okay.
I grant that, right?
Sure.
My original question was, if a Jew is formalized to the gospel and they reject it,
Yeah.
are they no longer worshiping God? Or are they worshiping a creature or a false god?
Okay, so again, we're not talking about Jews. We're talking about Muslims, so it wouldn't apply.
Okay, so we're
Okay,
just
so
flip-flopping
can we talk?
Bibles.
Yeah, look. I don't. You
Can I
never.
read you Chrysostom, brother? I
You
have a
don't.
cool
You don't
verse.
make. Oh no, we're not gonna just run to Chrysostom right now. We're gonna deal with
Well,
this point.
Well,
Because I
my
wanted to
question was
talk about
the Jews.
Chrysostom, but you wanted to talk about the Jew stuff. We'll do it. So again,
Okay, yeah.
to establish the idea of worship, okay, for a Muslim, in what way do Muslims specifically worship God? You said they adore the one creator. I said, what does one creator mean? You said God. So you're saying Muslims worship God because they adore God. And I'm still asking you why. You just repeated yourself.
Yeah, so Muslims attend to worship the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the prophets. That's their intention.
Okay, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the prophets
Mm-hmm.
is the God of the biblical Abraham, biblical Isaac, biblical Jacob, and biblical prophets, correct?
Yes. Who is the Father, Son, Holy Spirit? Yes.
Okay, regardless of if it's the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit right now,
No,
right?
that matters. That
You
matters.
said, okay, that definitely matters and matters. Muslims do not intend towards any of the biblical prophets that you've just mentioned because they
I
don't
just said
believe
Jews don't
in the
either.
Bible.
I could say Jews don't either then.
Jews do because they accept
No,
the
they
Bible.
don't.
Yes, they do. They accept the Bible.
No, they don't accept the New Testament. That's
You
the
said the
Bible.
God of you said the God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and the prophets.
Yeah.
So the
Then
Old
you said the
Testament.
Bible.
So
The
the Old.
Bible's
So the
not
Old
just the Old
Testament.
Testament.
Okay, we can just say Old Testament. It would still carry over the substance. The Old Testament is rejected by Muslims.
Okay, and the New Testament.
Okay, so then they don't intend to worship, right, the God of the biblical prophets because they don't intend towards the biblical
Where
prophets.
did they get Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Where did
The
they get these people
Quran.
from? The prophets.
The Quran.
Well, yeah, I know, but I'm saying, where does the Quran get this from?
The Quran. They claim they get it from Allah. That's the whole point. They get it from another entity. Muhammad didn't
The claim
rely on
that
the
they
Bible.
make-
According to the Muslims, they don't rely on the Bible. They rely on Allah solely.
Mm-hmm. Can I
So,
respond?
okay, so Allah is going to be, something that's not the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, right?
Yeah, could I respond?
Cool, sure. Respond to like that point, please.
Yes. Yeah, okay, I will. So, in Muslims, in reference, they're going to say, yeah, it is by Allah. But they're also going to make the claim, and it's made even in the Quran, that Allah sent the Torah, sent the Injil, and then he sent the Quran. So, the idea of them worshiping God and trying to worship God, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, it's going to come from the previous revelation, which they believe God gave
Yeah.
them.
Okay, so the Torah and the Injil, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have Muslims even in the comments. Okay, so the Torah and the Injil. Is the Torah the book of the prophet Malachi?
No, that's going to be the Tanakh.
Okay, so for Muslims, is the Torah the first 5 books of Moses?
Well, they don't even know what the Torah is.
Exactly. So they're not intending towards any object you give them in reality. If you gave a Muslim the Torah, they would be like, this isn't the revelation God gave to Moses, it's corrupted. So when they say Torah, they intend something different. So when Christians say God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and the prophets, they also intend something different. There is a
Yeah,
failure
so-
on the
so
part of the
it's-
Muslim on that case then. Because Muslims don't do that because they don't even intend that.
Jews don't intend that either.
Jews intend the Old Testament. Yes, they do.
But that's not the Bible, though. The Bible's not just the Old Testament.
You said that Jews worship the God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and the prophets. That's all contained in the Old Testament.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
if it's all
Then
in the
Jesus
Old, if
also
it's
said in the New Testament, Abraham couldn't wait to see his coming.
that's
Jews don't
fine.
believe in us.
That's fine. Jews are gonna say, hey, in that case, we were wrong about how we approached God, but they're still approaching the actual document. Like the disagreement between Christians and Jews is on the same kind of data. Muslims reject the data. That's the point.
So would you say heretics worship God then? Because they're looking at the same data, which is the Bible.
That
But
they
deny
worship
it.
God. So some heretics can worship God falsely, yeah.
Okay, you don't believe Muslims are heretics?
Wait, what? I said some heretics. I don't think I don't think Gnostics worship the true God. Do you?
No.
Why don't Gnostics worship the true God?
Well, if the Gnostic is formalized and they know the tradition, they deny it, then they're not intending to worship the God.
Okay, what's the difference between a Gnostic then and a Jew?
Yeah. So, like, the point I'm trying to make here
Wait,
is
no,
that
look, listen to what you just said. Right?
I'm trying to answer you.
Okay, stay here. So you just said.
Yeah, I'm staying here. I'm
Gnostics.
trying to answer you.
Okay, what are you trying to answer?
I'm trying to answer your question.
Which is
Between the Gnostics and the Jews, the difference and the correlation between them.
no,
Can I answer that?
the difference between why a Gnostic doesn't worship God and why a Jew does.
Yeah, the clarifier I made is a Gnostic who's formalized.
Okay.
Same thing with the Jew who's formalized.
Okay,
if
so
a
a Jew.
is formalized to the gospel, when we look at rabbis, for example, they are formalized. They know what the gospel teaches, and yet still say that Jesus is boiling in feces. They have formalized and rejected the gospel, meaning they then worship a creature. But a Jew
Okay,
who has
that's
not
what you
been
mean.
formalized
Okay.
to the gospel, they are still trying to worship the Creator.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing as a Muslim who has not been formalized.
What about
to
a
the
Gnostic
gospel,
that's not formalized?
Bro.
What about a Gnostic? I get your point. What about a Gnostic?
Yeah, a Gnostic that's not formalized.
Yes.
Yeah, their intent would be on that. Yeah.
So a Gnostic that's not formalized worships the true God, according to you.
Yeah, because you have to be formalized. Yeah.
So
Yeah, for
if
me,
I
like,
worship,
Gnostic-
okay, if I worship a rock and I say this rock created the heavens and the earth, and I don't know about the gospel, am I worshiping the true God if I worship a rock?
Not going to be analogous because a rock is like a created being.
Yeah. So is
Yeah.
every other referent of a heretic, right? It's going to be like a demon, right? They're just not formalized.
Well, wait, no, Arians. They didn't
Didn't
believe
say
that
Arians.
God was a
Didn't say
creature.
Arians. Didn't say
I
Arians.
know. I'm using an example.
No.
Because
Okay,
you said
I gave you an
heretics.
example and you didn't respond to my example, so I'm going to ask
said
you
Gnostics,
again.
right?
No, I said a person
Okay.
who hasn't been formalized about the gospel worships a rock and said, "This is the creator of the heavens and the earth. This is the person that has freed me from all of my badnesses and all of my sins and issues."
Okay.
Okay? Are they, without the formalization of the gospel, are they worshipping the true God?
Yeah, I'd say that just doesn't make sense. It's a false dichotomy.
That's
because
not.
Paul even
There's.
makes-
I didn't present a
Bro,
dichotomy to
You
you,
have to allow me to finish, bro. Because
Dion.
Paul
I didn't
literally
present
says
a
in
dichotomy
Scripture-
to you.
Because Paul literally says in Scripture, a person without giving any revelatory theology will not come to the notion that a rock is their God.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you again, right? Well, hold on. Are you saying that it's logically impossible for a random person to just say this rock is my God?
According to Paul, yeah.
Where does Paul say it's logically impossible?
Yeah, because Paul says within divine Scripture, which is infallible, that every single
Great,
human
you can
being
keep
comes to the-
keep
Okay.
adding on
So you
that.
just interrupt me again?
Yeah, but you're not showing me the verse. You just said Romans says. So Romans 1, right?
Can I finish?
Hold on, I just.
Do you want the
did one thing.
verse?
Yeah, I'd like the verse.
Here, let me get you the verse, brother.
Okay. Renaud de Chatillon will be punished. I swear it. Is it this one? It's just too late to stop. Put your heart in a headlock. I don't believe any of it. So I guess a non-formalized rock worshipper worships the true God. That makes sense.
Well, that's a contradiction. It's not even what anybody says. So
Yeah,
it's
you
gonna be
said, okay,
specifically
can there
Romans-
be any person that is not formalized on the gospel that cannot worship the true God?
Repeat that again.
So let's say you have a person that isn't formalized on the gospel and he worships something, okay? Would
what
they
is
be
the something
worshipping
in
the true God?
reference?
Pardon?
What is the something? What is the something in reference?
The thing in reference is the rock in front of them, and they say this rock is the creator of the heavens and the earth.
No human being will come to that. Specifically, it's going to be found in Romans 18 to 21.
Well, as in, like, what? The entirety of those 3 chapters?
What do you mean entirety of those 3 chapters?
Romans 18 to 21 is 18,
So
19,
Romans
20,
chapter
21.
1, brother, verse 18 to 21.
Okay, so Romans 1, 18 to 21 says, "The wrath of God is poured upon from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who suppress the truth in unrighteousness." So the unrighteousness of men who suppress the truth in unrighteousness. Because what may be known of God is manifest in them, for God has shown it to them. That would mean that it's these specific people who have suppressed the truth. That doesn't mean every single human has done that. I don't see how you got that.
But it literally says, for his invisible attributes, namely his eternal power
Yeah.
and divine nature, has been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world in the
Right,
things that have been made.
Okay.
Been
Clearly,
made.
okay,
Like,
clean,
like,
okay, clearly, okay,
what the hell?
it's, okay, so it's clearly
So,
seen
and that says, so
by
they are
who?
without excuse.
Who's they?
According to this verse right here, what's been made?
No, the they is not the thing that's been made. The they is the people that have been made it known to. This is English, right? Look, because what may be known of God is manifest in them. Who's the them? Who's the them?
Humans.
Okay, for God has shown
Yes.
it to them. The them is those humans.
Them is the humans.
Where does it
yes.
say all humans?
It literally says in the next verse, in things that have been made. All humans are made.
No, it
Unless
says
you're gonna
no,
say,
no,
like,
no, 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 no.
like
It says
us.
being understood by the things that are
No,
made.
what the hell? No.
Yes.
What is this? No, give me your exegesis for this.
My
This doesn't
exegesis
follow at
is
all.
like English, right? It says
No,
this.
this doesn't say.
Since the creation of the world, hold on. Since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made. What are the things that are created? The other things that the people see. So creatures, just created things in general, like rocks and goldfish. You can look at a goldfish and you can think, oh, God. That's not talking about the people doing the knowing, though.
You can't look at a goldfish and say it's God.
No, you can look at a goldfish and conclude God exists. That's what Paul's point
Exactly.
is. But Paul's point, hold on.
what I said.
But Paul's point is not that every single person can do that, because he never says that. He says, the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men. Not against all men. He doesn't say that. So there are some men, presumably, according to you, that could be righteous. Hold on. So there are men that could be righteous to you, right? This verse would not apply to them. They could still be unknowing about the God, and they could still not know anything about the God, and not clearly know anything about God, right? And so this verse wouldn't apply to them. They could still go ahead and worship a rock and say this rock is the true God, and they would not be none the wiser.
Okay. So, can I ask a clarifier?
Go
So I
ahead.
understand you better? All right. So when it says for his invisible attributes, namely his eternal power and divine nature, this isn't referencing that it has been revealed to all men, correct?
Where does it say all men?
No, I'm asking you, it isn't, correct?
No, I'm just saying it doesn't say that. You
Okay.
can't
I'm just-
conclude that
brother,
it's against all men.
Brother, I'm asking you simply. It's saying it isn't for all men, right? It's only for a specific group of people.
I'm saying, right, that it doesn't say that it's for all men. If there's another verse that says it's for all men, show me. But it doesn't say it here.
That's not what I'm asking you, brother. I'm saying, do you agree?
Do you
that
think it
isn't
says
for
it?
all
Do you
men?
think it says it for all men?
Yeah, I think it's implying all
Show
men.
me. Okay, show me where Paul says all men.
He doesn't have to say all men.
Okay, does Paul ever say all men?
In regards to this context right here in Romans 1, no.
Okay, so does Paul ever in any passage say all men?
No.
Okay,
Not
so
in this one right here.
Paul doesn't ever
doesn't
say
have to
that
say all
all.
men.
So again, so Paul doesn't say all men. Now, if Paul doesn't have to say all men, someone else does though, because you need to believe it, right? So someone else has to say all men. Which other person says that all men know that God exists?
Are you gonna answer my question, brother, or are you just?
I'd just like to ask you, could you tell me?
Brother, I just want I'll ask the clarifier. Do you believe that this passage isn't talking about all men?
How does that answer my question?
Bro, it's not. Bro, I asked the question before you
Okay,
did.
could you answer my question, please?
Yeah, when you answer mine, brother.
What?
Because
Okay,
I asked you,
bro.
and then you went and rambled, and then you gave me
I
a
didn't.
question.
I didn't ramble. Okay, ramble about what exactly? I rambled about the
Yeah,
topic.
when I asked you, right?
Yeah.
Do you believe in this context it isn't talking about all men? You could have
Yeah.
simply said yes or no. And then
Okay.
you went and rambled. And
In
then
this
you gave me a
context,
question.
it doesn't commit to all men.
Okay, so there are men out here who
Yeah.
don't know about who God's divine nature, seeing creation and everything, and hasn't been exfoliated to their mind to understand that there is a creator.
Yeah, there are men that don't know that there's a creation because there are
So
agnostics.
God
There
made
are
people
like
for thousands.
agnostics are real, right? So to continue now, do you think agnosticism is a true position?
Do I think agnosticism?
Yeah, do you think you can be agnostic about God's existence?
No.
So you can't be agnostic about whether God exists or not. You can't just not know.
No.
Okay, you said that that's not present
Because
in
I
this
think
verse. You hold on.
everything's- I
You
think
said that's not.
everything's
You
been
said
presented.
you said that's not present in this verse, brother. Is there a verse in the entire Bible where it says all men know God exists?
It doesn't have to say all men.
Okay. So then the
It's
Bible never
shown
commands.
here-
So can we at least agree that the Bible doesn't command that all men know that God exists? Can we at least agree on that?
The Bible is commanding that all men can see within creation that a higher being exists.
You just said it
Creation.
doesn't say all men.
It doesn't.
Here that it's all men.
Men is going to be referencing humanity. It doesn't have to say all men.
It
for
says
to
the
be counted.
unrighteousness of men, not men.
Okay, and the Bible says all are unrighteous. Does it not say that?
Would that include the mother of God?
Oh my, bro, no.
I'm asking you. I'm asking you. You said when men. Hold on. Listen to me. You said, hold on. Listen to what you just said. You said, hey, this verse refers to the fact that all men are unrighteous. Okay. Was Mary ever unrighteous? Ever?
No.
Okay, so all doesn't actually mean a universal claim. There can be exceptions.
Then why are you trying to show me all of that? Why are you asking me to show you all? And if I
Because
show
you
all,
made
you're
because
just
you're
gonna say
making the claim that there is not a single human being alive that can be agnostic. There's no exceptions to this rule. You cannot have an agnostic. That's
because
an issue.
I'm gonna make the argument that if you're gonna say that someone can truly be agnostic, then
Yeah.
you're gonna.
No.
Oh, my bad. I got my battery thing came.
Because this is going away from the point, okay?
If
Could
you're
you
gonna
tell
say a
me the
person
sense
is
in which
truly- If you're
could
gonna
you-
say a person is truly agnostic,
Yeah.
then you're gonna have to say God made them agnostic. God made them so that they don't know who He is.
in the beginning, yeah.
What?
Yeah, some people don't have the knowledge that God exists. I'm pretty fine to
And
say
God
that.
made them like that?
That God created them at the beginning like that? Yes.
Wait, what do you mean by in the beginning? Because
Yes.
according to
At the
there's
beginning
20-year-old
at the
agnostics.
beginning of their lives, they
There's
didn't know that
20-year-old
God exists.
agnostics.
They may not be 20-year-old, well, they could be 20-year-old agnostics for sure. But that doesn't mean that they can't find God later. I don't have to commit to that at all. You're committed to the idea that a baby is born just knowing that God's real.
That's not what I said.
Okay, babies are part of humans, right? Babies are human, right?
Yes.
Okay. Babies were conceived with an intellect, right?
Yeah, yeah. And
Do
their
they-
intellect isn't formed. Yeah.
Okay, so their intellect isn't formed.
Mm-hmm. Because they don't know what a rock is. They
Wait,
don't know
wait. Listen to what you. No. Wait. Whoa. No. Every single ensouled baby has a fully formed intellect. They do. Otherwise, they're not. Yes. Otherwise, they're not human. Either they have an intellect or they don't.
So you don't think intellect grows?
The capacity to use it grows, not the thing itself, though. You just have intellect when you're a kid.
So you think your intellect is the same intellect as a baby's?
Yes, the same property of intellect. Yeah.
Okay. Well, now you're talking property, brother. Now we're confusing
Yes.
ourselves with
I'm
words.
not talking about like the actual way someone can use it. We're talking about whether you have it. But for you, that wouldn't matter. Because a baby, that's okay. So a conceived, okay, a conceived child. Okay, does a conceived child in the intellect know that a God exists? A conceived child.
I don't know. I don't know that.
You said that all men. That includes conceived babies.
Mm-hmm.
So a conceived baby has to know that God exists in their intellect.
Their intellect isn't fully formed. That's what I'm telling you.
Oh my God. Listen to what you're saying. You're saying all people. That means guys that just got pregnant, okay? Babies that just got pregnant know that God exists because they're part of all men. You understand this, right?
What I'm saying is
God.
that God has imputed to every single human being, as Paul says, men, which is going to be in reference to humanity, through what they see in the world, are going to come to a notion that the Creator exists. Then you tell me to find
That they're
you where
gonna
it
come.
says
Okay, so
all.
that's different
You
from
told me
that
to
they
find you
all
where
know.
it says all. You're being disingenuous because
I'm
you
not
told me
being
to show you where
disingenuous. I'm
you
not.
are because you
I'm
told me
not.
to
I'm
show
not.
you
I'm
where
not
it
being
says
disingenuous.
all.
I'm not being
And when I
disingenuous.
showed you where it said all,
Whoa, whoa,
then
whoa!
you say,
You
well,
never
all
showed
doesn't
me. You
literally
never
mean
showed. You
all.
never showed me where it said all men. I
It
asked you
doesn't.
all
Look,
men.
but you just
That's
proved it doesn't
disingenuous.
have to
You
say that
then
because
said
even
it
if it
doesn't
said
have to
all
say
men,
that, and then you said that
bro.
all men are unrighteous, and then I showed you there are exceptions to that rule, and then you said
Okay,
surely
so you
all does
just
not mean
proved to me,
all.
even if I showed you that it said all men, you just say, oh, well, that doesn't really mean all men.
No, I'm saying
So
that you
there's
need
no
to.
point in me
You
even
need to
bringing you all.
substantiate every single claim. That's what an honest conversationalist does, right? In
You're not
conversations.
doing that, though.
Yes, I am. I'm establishing every
No,
single thing I'm saying.
no,
Could
because
you
you said,
name
show
any?
me
Could
where
you
it says all.
name me a
But if I
single
showed you where it said
thing that I've claimed that I haven't established in this conversation, brother? Please name me that one thing.
because you told me to show you where it says all.
That's not
as
me
in,
establishing
bro,
anything.
You're not letting me finish speak. Like you interrupting me and that being a form of your rhetoric, it's not helping you. You made the claim and the
What?
assertion
Okay,
showing
look,
that if it
I'm not gonna
said
lie to you, right? We need to make sure that we stay
brother,
on topic here, okay? Look,
brother,
if
I'm
you have a
literally-
problem, if you have a
I'm
problem with
literally trying to
interruptions, then don't do it to me, right? But I'm fine with you doing it to me. I don't really care.
I'm trying to speak to you. You told me.
I'm trying to speak to you
show
too. It's a conversation. You interrupt people all the time.
Yeah, I know, but
Okay, so why do you keep complaining?
Because you're not having courtesy. You're not even letting me finish what I'm trying to
Okay,
say.
courtesy, right? Okay, listen.
But,
You
now
know
you're
what
gonna
we?
go to a different topic and talk about courtesy.
You
Can
said
we
that I
stick with
don't have
this?
courtesy. Can I not address that, or is that a throwaway statement?
No, I don't want you to address that.
So I can't address the things you say?
No, because you won't let me address
No,
the
I
things
can't
that
address the
say.
things you say. Jesus.
Yeah, and I can't address the things you say.
I never said you can't address the things I say.
Well, I'm trying to, but you're interrupting me.
Okay, what are
So
you trying to
don't
address
wanna
right now?
address it. Are you gonna allow me to speak?
What are you trying to address right now?
I'm trying to address when you made the assertion within the scripture of Romans chapter 1, you're acting as if it said all men would change something. But when I showed you that all are unrighteous, you said that all doesn't imply to all. You're just going to keep that same standard, even if I bring
not
you
what's going
Romans
on.
1,
That's not what's going on.
where it says all.
That's
You're just going to say,
not what's going
it doesn't
on.
really
That's not what's
mean
going
all.
on. You
And
don't
then
understand.
again, you're interrupting me. You're not even
Yeah,
letting me finish my thought.
because you finished the substance of your point. Sorry, was there something magical you were going to say that's going to really change the exact argument you're making right now?
No, brother,
Okay,
it's
so
called
I can interrupt
courtesy.
you.
It's called allowing someone to finish.
Brother. Courtesy isn't a necessary rule in any conversation whatsoever.
Okay, is courtesy pious?
Is courtesy pious?
Yes.
Okay, is prayer yes, as well as prayer, right? Is prayer pious?
Okay.
Hold on. Is prayer? I said yes. Is prayer pious? Is prayer pious?
Thank you. So
Hold
you're trying to be
on.
pious?
Is prayer pious?
Yes.
Okay. Should you always do the more pious thing rather than the less pious thing?
More pious thing?
Yes. There are some things that are more pious than other things.
I don't view it like that.
Is the Eucharist more pious than being on a TikTok live?
Yes, I don't think
Cool.
a TikTok
So
live
that's
is
good.
pious.
Do you think prayer is more pious than a TikTok live?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, then go pray. See what I'm saying? Like, see, this is the thing, okay? I'm okay with the power clutch, bro. I'm okay with the power clutch. It's cool. It's cool. Okay, I don't really mind. But gang, simply signaling piety for like no other reason that, yo, you're being bad, bro, please. Like, yes, of course we have to be pious, gang. I'm gonna let you back up because that was drunk. He's gonna be like, I'm gonna pray for you or something like that. I don't even know. Anyways, come back up, bro. come on. But like, bro, come on. Yeah, who cares, right? It'll just be normal. All right, we got Baz B. Dion, I gave you an invite. Baz, what's up? Is it too late to stop? Put your arm in a headlock. I don't believe any of it. Baz, what's up? It's glitching. It's okay, Dion. Take your time.
1 2 1 2.
3 4 3 4. Aye.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Sometimes my phone is bugged. I'm not gonna lie.
Is it your phone's bugged, yeah? Yeah, call it,
I
bro.
But when Logic came down, we sat under the tent in Stratford and spoke for like 30 minutes.
Yeah. I remember the likes of you. I remember that. I remember your kind, bro. I remember your kind. I remember your kind, man. Hold on.
Nothing bugged.
Your thing isn't bugged, gang. Your thing isn't bugged. I'm just being a bit of an idiot. Is it? Hey, I turned off my phone. I'm an idiot. Oh my days. I turned off my phone. I'm an idiot. Is it too late to stop? Put your heart in a headlock. All right, cool. I'm back. What's up?
Yeah. I've been seeing that this conversation is popping up recently. I'm trying to understand where do you stand?
What?
The whole, do Christians and Muslims worship the same God pattern?
Yeah, it's just like there's like this old council that said that they do, and obviously it's kind of rubbing people the wrong way because people spend a lot of time saying that they don't. So it's like kind of counterintuitive to say that we believe in the same God when we're saying that they're the wrong religion, which is, God. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, that's basically the issue, isn't it? Right, let's get to the next guest. Oh, Dion, he just took away his invite. He's not. He's not. He just took it away. He's gonna put it back up again though. Everyone can see that he took it away. But anyways, Baz, what's up? You want to say?
Future, when discussing this with Sigurd, just try to stick to the topic. Don't go to like ad hominem.
I didn't. I never addressed his motives. He just kept saying I was impious. It's like, yeah, I know. Like crazy. I know. Like, yes, I'm an impious guy. I don't care. Can we continue now? I'm not gonna repent in front of you though. I don't need to. It's like, brother, please, brother, please, be pious. It's like, yes, I'm gonna do that. Don't worry. I'm be cool.
Alright, listen, I'm gonna leave you to it, but it's always good to talk to you again, and I hope we meet again in the future.
Yeah, love, bro. Love and guidance, bro. All right, he's requested now. All right, cool. Is it too late to stop? Put your heart in a headlock.
Bro. I don't know.
Yo,
maybe TikTok was glitching.
That's cool, bro.
Yeah, maybe TikTok was acting weird. No, but I will pray for you, bro, because we should pray. Paul says to pray without ceasing. So you're right, bro.
So then you shouldn't be
we
here.
Should be praying. Well, I think humans can pray and multitask. I think I can pray.
Are you praying? Are you praying right now?
Yeah.
All right, bro.
Brother, you act like you can't multitask now. Come on.
Uh-huh.
You got to be equipped.
No, the only people that can do that, right, are hesycasts, right?
I don't think only hesycasts.
It's harder to be, bro. It's harder to be a unceasing prayer. Okay, so say, for example, something as simple as the Jesus prayer, right? Are you saying the Jesus prayer right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So you're saying the Jesus prayer right now with full intent?
Mm-hmm.
Turn on your phone. I think you are.
Turn on what? I was praying, brother. What'd you say?
I love it. That's good, man. That's good. Wow. I love that, bro.
No, but look, brother, I just don't like when both of us. I interrupted you too, so forgive me, bro.
Nah, it's cool, bro. You understand? Look, of course we need to be pious, but I hate when people wear it like a badge, you know?
No, brother, I'm the most unpious person here.
Bro, listen, guys know I'm impious, bro. I'm trying to tell you, man, them know my impiety.
But we should strive for it, though, brother. We should
strive. Of course, bro. Of course. Okay, so let's get back to this. So, I think the thing is for me, I think when it comes to worship, I think it's different from just knowing, innit? So people can get really philosophical about this, so they can go to theories of intention, but let's try and avoid that for now.
I have to. I'm sorry to interrupt you. My friend told me, tell Sig I gave him money. His name's Pope.
Oh, Pope.
He said I donated to him on YouTube. I want to be thanks to tell him. So he donated to you on YouTube. So
thank you so much. But you shouldn't have done that. You need to go over to streamlabs.com, bro. / what's it called? / SIIIG10 / tip, bro. You know what I'm trying to say? But that's the thing. So here's the thing.
My bad for interrupting you, brother.
No, that's cool. But yeah, when it comes to this whole same God, different God, we can do it without being vitriolic. Now, are you gonna get heated? For sure. But I think people like sort of get away with what they even want to say. I just don't think that like I don't think you feel so angry against a Muslim because they like disrespect the person of the father, because they tell you, bro, our God's not a father. You know, you get even angrier. I don't think you get angry. I don't think you're angry at a Muslim because they just got something wrong about God. Like, for example, presumably, you're more angry at a Muslim than you are at an Aryan.
Are you saying I am?
Any Christian would have like righteous anger and hatred for a Muslim more than an Aryan.
Like, I think they're both heresies, brother. So
True, but I think some heresies are like worse than others.
I don't look at it like that. I apologize, bro.
Okay, do you think Gnosticism is worse than Donatism?
I don't think it's worse. I think they're on the equal level.
You think
Because
Donatism?
I think
Bro, Donatists accept the Trinity.
Well, yeah, but they deny truth.
Okay, do you think the Eastern Orthodox ecclesiology is heretical?
I don't know about Eastern Orthodox ecclesiology.
Okay, they deny papal supremacy. Okay, they deny papal supremacy. The thing is like eel. Okay, so that's heresy, right? To deny papal supremacy is heresy, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's a heresy. So the Eastern Orthodox, church view is heresy. Is that better or worse than Arianism?
Better or worse? Okay, I see where you're going now.
Yeah. So I think that Muslims are worse than Aryans because they do something even like Aryans would never do. They deny both the Father and the Son and the Spirit. They just deny the entire triad. They know it exists because they talk about it in their book, their main book. Like, do you think Muhammad, who was the best Muslim, right? Do you think Muhammad worshipped the same God as you?
Him, no, because he was speaking with Satan, which is Jibril.
Exactly, right?
Yes.
But he intended he intended his worship towards this thing that he encountered, which was Jibril, which is Allah. He just called it Allah. Oh no! Oh, not again, man! What was the clip? Oh, man. See, this is why I can't do the things that I do, man. Ah. It's not even giving me reason. Yes. He's like, ew. Okay, so that's heresy, right? To deny papal supremacy is heresy, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's a heresy. So the Eastern Orthodox, church view is heresy. Is that? This is why they're banning me. Arianism.
Better or worse? Okay, I see where you're going.
Oh my gosh, they're banning me for this.
I think that Muslims are worse than Aryans because they do something even like Aryans would never do. They deny both the Father.
Oh my gosh, they're banning me because I said Muslims are worse than Aryans.
Truth.
All right, man. Look. We're gonna appeal. Hate speech. Little bagel uptown, not got my BR. Bap. Just like you have mochi, now I can't chat to a leecher. Hard. I know I'm official, like my initial, Caesar my sneaker. Alright guys, can we promote the StreamYard link again? Can we do that again? We're not gonna let the party die just because these guys are, you know what I'm saying? Well, bagel uptown, now I got my BR. Bat. Just like he had mochi, now I can't chat to a leecher. Hard. I know I'm official, like my initial, Caesar my sneaker. Off head waving to Nisha. You guys don't know what I'm talking about. We're gonna wait for them to come through. Dam Calf, wagwan.
Yo, what's up?
Not much.
So I wanted to just continue on the line of conversation you had with them.
Yeah, okay.
Like the anger towards Muslims.
That's a
So
really bad thing to say, man. It's like, you're angry, bro. Like that's such a bad point. Such a bad point, man.
it's you that said it, not me. So
I did say it, bro. I stand on that, bro.
yeah, and you got banned. So
Yeah, okay.
anyways, I would say yeah, for by all metrics, I think every Christian will be more like have more righteous anger towards a Muslim than an Aryan.
Yeah.
But in the same way, when a pagan they say something wrong about God, I just don't care.
Yeah, but you care about Muslims though.
Yeah, but the thing isn't that like the way to that's so this is not talking about the truth value even of it. But I think subconsciously many of us think Muslims are referring to our God and they're slandering him by saying he's not a father, and that's why we get angry. But when a pagan says it, you're like, you're just making your shit up, so we don't really care about what you say.
Okay, cool. So they're making ish up. Okay, so let's say they're making stuff up here.
When we
Ask-
talk about pagan,
Yeah. So do you think pagans worship the same God as you?
no.
But a lot of Catholics say yeah, bro. Like,
So my position about the Muslim worshiping the same God thing.
yeah.
So I think the word we talk about reference. I think under Catholic theology, it's even more difficult to make that
It's
claim.
not even just like, look, I think that you can refer to the same thing. I think that's fine. But I don't think that like they intend to worship the same thing. Let's say for a second, right? We disagree. Like a lot of theories of disagreement basically means you either have disagreements on beliefs or disagreements on actions. So like,
Yeah.
should we smoke today? I'll say yes. You'll say no. As like a disagreement on action. Disagreement on belief will be like, is Jesus God, right? So should you believe X is the case, right? Or X is true. People are gonna say, you know what? Yeah, you can disagree, but the reason you disagree is because you know that you're talking about the same subject matter. You're like sort of equal parties. Now, even in disagreements, you can also be unequal parties. So one party might know more than the other party, and they can still have that disagreement. But my question really would be, let's say you have, I don't even know, bro. Let's say you have like, actually, I'll do this, right? I think blah, 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 is the true church. Do you agree?
No, that sentence is incoherent.
Yeah, so you disagree with me.
Yeah, I disagree.
Did I refer to anything in reality?
No.
So you can still disagree with people even if you're not referring to anything. That's real.
Yeah, I agree with that. And what the point I was making is that I think on the Roman Catholic theology, especially the scholastics, I think that will be the positions. When Muslims are saying things like the God of Abraham that was revealed to Muhammad, that sentence actually makes no sense because all
Exactly.
things predicated to God are essential.
So then they don't worship the same God. You know what I'm trying to say?
So my position on this will be Muslims worship the same God insofar as they affirm the correct things about God.
Okay.
So if I want to expand it a little bit, so I think so when I so this is a little bit of speculation. So when I speak with most Muslims, they think that they only worship the one God revealed to Abraham, Moses, and Isaac, stuff like that, and that's all what is needed. I am the other one. I'm the one that has to press them to say no. In your religion, you also have to believe in Muhammad, who was sent by him.
Yeah.
But I think the most Muslims they don't think that far away, and they just stay about the truth values about God, the God that were even into Abraham, Isaac, the creator of the universe, etc., etc. And insofar as that, I believe that worshiping, I believe you're worshiping the same God.
Oh, okay. Thanks for talking. Appreciate you.
So
Yeah, we had a conversation yesterday, so I just think I'm fine.
yeah. Was it yesterday or yesterday?
2 days ago.
Yeah. Because after because that day we I think we gave an argument that they cannot refer to the same thing, and I agree with you. I don't think it's possible to say that.
Gabriel, welcome.
Yo, Sig.
Yeah.
Wagwan, brother. Listen, Dion wants to come up if that's good on
Yeah, he's not
StreamYard.
here.
Continue. Well, I'm just letting you know he's trying to figure it out. He's an old man, so.
Yeah. I like Dion.
All right, bro.
Cool. All right. Who's the next person? What the hell? Oh, I have 3 people.
Hello, hello.
Wagwan.
Wagwan. It's a UK term, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so I was listening earlier and it seemed that you
What's
made
your
the
name?
claim Cartesian.
Have I spoken to you before?
I don't think so.
I think I know you,
No,
actually.
no, we never spoken.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm positive.
I think it was a time I
I
was on
think
like
we've been
Isaiah's
in.
name. I think it was a time I was on Isaiah's live, right?
I don't believe so. We
Oh,
might
okay.
have been in like common like
Are you Catholic?
Discord Discord channels, but I
Okay.
don't think we've spoken.
Are you Catholic?
Yeah.
When did you convert?
This past Easter.
As in you started last year or you got baptized?
Oh, I got fully received into the Catholic Church.
Wow. Were you atheist before?
No, I was Orthodox.
Hmm. Okay.
But
So,
it wasn't long. It was like maybe like 10 months.
okay. So, when you say Catholics and Muslims worship the same God, what do you mean?
I would just say that they have the same reference in terms of God, and that they can commit intentional acts towards that reference, like worship or adoration. I wouldn't say that it's like worship accepted by God, or
Sure, it's
that
not
it's like,
efficacious.
yeah.
Okay, so what makes worship one of the intentional acts that Muslims can perform towards God correctly that other intentional acts don't meet that? Actually,
Like,
I would
which
ask you,
other
are there intentional acts that Muslims do towards the true God that are unsuccessful?
I guess you could say prayer, but I don't know I don't know what you'd mean by like unsuccessful. Like God doesn't answer it, or
Well, presumably God doesn't answer the prayers of Muslims, right? He doesn't
yeah,
provide any grace to the prayers of a Muslim, does he?
yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, so still though they're able to pray to God. So they're somehow successfully praying to God without having any grace provided to them, like we agree, or, even receiving any answer for that prayer. But for you still are committing to... okay, I'm going to stop doing this like jargonizing thing. I apologize, man. It's actually so sour. You still want to say that these Muslims are able to have this intentional act, which is worship. But you're saying that prayer, which is another intentional act, they cannot do towards God.
Oh, no, I wouldn't say they couldn't do it towards God. I would say they could pray to God as well.
Okay. Are there any intentional acts that they cannot do? Because you said before that they could, so that they couldn't.
Yeah,
So that's
not
why I
that
said
I'm aware of.
So are you saying
I
for
can't think
all
of
that you know
anything.
right now, every intentional act towards God Muslims can do?
Yeah, because I would just say that they have the referent correct, and there's nothing preventing them from like committing intentional acts towards that referent.
Okay. So the intentional act in question is worship. Is it possible that you can, refer to referent without worshipping it?
Yeah.
Is it possible that... okay, cool. Is it possible that you can do it without worshipping it in such a way that it actually succeeds in the intention?
Will you elaborate?
Okay. Let's say a demon, for example, intends to worship God or something. Well, they know God, but they can't worship him, obviously, right? Because of pride or whatever. But let's say that like they envy God, but they still wanted to do the action of worship. Would they be successful in being able to worship God?
In the case of demons,
yeah,
I'm actually not sure because
okay,
I think it's different. I think there's like a different category, right? Like
why?
Because I think just how the way
Well,
like isn't it the case for like angels and demons that if they choose to deny God, their will is fixed? Am I mistaken? I'm not versed on like
yeah, it's like some angelology and stuff, innit?
Yeah.
So if what I know, I'm gonna say for what I know. Well, angels are usually severed from God by pride or envy, but there's nothing speaking on the fact that their will is fixed after that point. This is the whole reason why like people start creeping into Originism, right? with the whole universalism stuff. But like, people want to say that angels, in that they can freely turn away from God now, means that they freely are keeping their will towards God. So their intentional act is still free. See what I mean?
Oh,
but that
okay.
doesn't necessarily
Well,
speak too much on whether or not they can successfully worship God or not. See what I mean?
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
when I say successful, I just mean like they could commit the act.
Yeah, it's successful in that they commit the action. Right? Like it would be true to say that they commit the action.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, I don't want to go to like the sort of criteria that would make up the action of worship, because it's still pretty vague what we mean by worship. Because people can distinguish between true worship, false worship and stuff like that. All you're saying is they worship the true God in a false way. So what is your definition of worship? You said, well, they have an intentional act towards God. But you need to distinguish the action of worship from other intentional acts, like speaking or talking about,
Distinguish in what way? Because it's just not clear to me that this would make.
Well, do you
change
think
argument.
do you think there are multiple intentional acts that Muslims are doing towards God?
Yeah.
Okay, so what makes the intentional act, do you think the intentional act of worship is different from the intentional act of referring to or talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, what makes the action of worship different from the intentional action of just talking about God?
Well, talking about God would just be like you could do that in common conversation. You could do that in a liturgical setting.
Sure.
But worship would be. Oh, so you're just asking what would constitute worship then, right?
Well, in order for a Muslim to do it, we're saying that Muslims are doing something. What is the thing that they're doing?
So let's say they well, I actually don't know how they worship, so that's a good question. But maybe we could just say it's like they commit some. Because for us it would be.
Well, the word adorator is used. Maybe that could help. They're committing the action of adoration. So the intentional act would be, quote, adoration. But adoration is specifically some sort of contemplative term. It's contemplatively laden. Oh, no, that's disgusting. Sorry. There's a contemplative term. But are we really going to say that Muslims contemplate, like, the one God? I don't know if you want to say that.
I just don't see what would be the issue with saying that, though. Like, it's just to say that they can do it.
Well, because contemplation is an action of faith. So.
Well, no, because we would say faith is a gift from God, and we don't suppose that they have faith.
True, right? But contemplation is an action of faith. You need to say that Muslims are doing some. Well, is there any other definition for worship that you use?
Well, yeah, we already made a distinction between true and false worship.
True and false. Well, true. Well, we could say there's true and false worship, but we're still working out what worship is. Like whatever it is true and false, but we don't know what it is yet. That's what we're trying to do now.
Well, I don't think it would matter because if we have because our claim is that they falsely worship God. So.
They falsely what God?
Oh, you just want to know what worship means. I mean, well, I don't know how they worship honestly, but I would just say
how they what?
Well, I'm saying for us it would be the mass, the sacrifice of the mass, the offertory. So it'd be
of course, right? Like the particular adorations that you give, but those are contemplative actions. So, if you are worshiping God, you are if you are worshiping God, you are performing a contemplative action. I think we can all agree on that. But Muslims cannot perform any contemplative action because it would imply faith.
The necessary, So the necessary condition would be faith.
Look, I'm very much happy to say if you can give a definition of what worship is, that Muslims can just do that thing falsely, then then people can dialogue with you. You know what I mean? But this is a reason why a lot of hierarchs from different communities are very particular as how they talk about Muslims and stuff. They'll be they grope after God, they seek after God, they're trying to get there or whatever. They will make something up that sounds like they're trying to start the path of worship, but they're not actually
Okay, so I guess we could just make a distinction between liturgical worship and you seem to be saying that they're all contemplative acts, but
is there any action of worship that is non-contemplative? Even false worship is a contemplative act, right?
Yeah.
But again, Muslims don't do any contemplative acts because they all would imply, faith. Now, again, the whole point is you can put your faith in something like a demon, right? So you could, put your faith in a demon, or you could put faith in God, right? But do it falsely. So like an Arian would like put their faith in God, but then it would be like, you know what I'm saying? It's done. So, but anyways, I spoke too much. I spoke too much.
Yeah, we can just say that they try to like conform themselves to God's will, right? And they try to like love or like follow God's law to the best of their ability. Which, yeah, in some sense is a contemplative act, but it's also acted out in their like daily lives, right?
That is an action of faith, though. So, like, say for example that they try to love God, to like attempt to love God is still an action of faith. See what I mean? Because you can't love God without faith, right? No one can.
Well, yeah, I agree.
So, do Muslims have faith?
But you could still try to submit yourself to God's will without having faith.
How? That's Pelagian.
Well, what do you mean?
How can you try to submit yourself to God without faith? It's like impossible, right? At least given Catholicism, it's impossible to please God without faith.
Yes, I never said they please God, though.
Oh, it's also impossible to love God without faith, right?
I'm saying they're making the attempt.
But
that's the claim.
Okay, they're making the attempt.
God is concerned.
Okay, so when a Muslim is attempting to love God, are they loving God?
I would say they're making the attempt.
Okay, so
because love here seems to imply like God accepts it, or like God is.
No, you can love someone without them accepting your love. Like I love my mum, bro. You think she likes me, bro? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So you can love something without the person accepting.
Yeah,
it.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay, so do Muslims love God even though God doesn't accept their love?
Yeah, I think we can say that.
Okay, so then they're not just attempting to love God; they are actually loving God.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, but you can't love God without faith.
Wait, no. Because I think you just made a mistake because you said that, because like to say that they have faith implies that God accepts that. Like if God didn't accept their love, then He wouldn't like.
Well, look,
they would have to have faith for God would have had to have given them faith for God to accept their love. Like for
example, like when a person commits an action of mortal sin, right? Let's say I don't know, like you duppy someone. Do you know what I mean by duppy, by the way? Because I'm trying to be like friendly for YouTube.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying. So if you duppy someone, for example, right, you can still be filled with contriteness, which is an action of love, which would imply that you have faith, but you're still estranged from God. God will still hate you, right, in your state of mortal sin. So you can still love God, right, and God doesn't accept your love right now until, absolution happens. But that action of loving God is still an action that would require faith in that situation. But God hasn't given the Muslims faith.
Okay, I see your argument.
Yeah. Hey, Cartesian, it was lovely talking to you, my guy. You know what I'm trying to say? Hopefully I wasn't too, bad faith or something like that. You know what I mean?
No, I kind of wanted to address the claim you made earlier about how they couldn't pick out, they couldn't get the right referent if God is not personal.
Well, referent or not, right? Like, let's say someone granted the referent. This is then the conversation. So I think that, depending on your not theory of disagreement, because I guess in analytic phil today, people sort of agree on what they mean by disagreement. You can have like orders of confidence, on a certain theory, or you could have disagreements on actions or beliefs. Now, my question would be, could you be able to have a disagreement on a belief when one person has a degree of confidence of 0, i.e. they don't know anything? Still, you could. Like, if I say, for example, blah, 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 is the true God, you could still disagree with me, even though you don't know what blah, blah, blah means. Presumably. I don't know. Maybe you disagree. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's not really what's happening, though. People are using, like, specific terms that reference, like, only one being, so that's the
I don't know if I don't think they refer to, like, this particular being. Like, when Muslims say Allah created the heavens and the earth, I think what Muslims mean is the thing that appeared to Muhammad.
They worship the thing that appeared to Muhammad? I thought it was the angel Gabriel.
Well, the angel Gabriel specifically appeared to Muhammad, but Allah also appeared to Muhammad in the night journey. So
they believe Allah appeared to Muhammad?
Yeah, but behind a veil.
Oh, are they trying to, like, piggyback off, like, God only showed his backside from the Old Testament?
Yeah. Well, not Old Testament, but, just some. Do you know what I mean?
Huh. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. That's like I don't know all like their like weird idiosyncratic like stories and stuff. Like,
Nah, them man are calm, bro. Anyways, listen. I appreciate you coming up, man. Hopefully this was a fruitful conversation. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I would just make the distinction between like true and false worship, and I guess you're just saying like, oh, worship like entails that they have faith, and God never gave them faith.
Well, the problem is just like, what does worship even mean? See what I mean? Like, if you can get down to that, again, someone might ask you for like some random ass like exhaustive, account for worship. It's like, who cares? Just like give something,
Yeah, well, I just say like I said earlier, just like giving honor, reverence, like submitting to God's will.
And then we can do the whole argument of the act of faith, like you pointed out before. So yeah. Thanks, man. I got 2 more people up here. Anything final that you want to say to the guests, to the panel, to anything?
Nope. Just God bless. Interesting conversation.
Thank you so much, man. Very interesting. Appreciate you. Take care.
Yeah, you too.
Of course, man. All right, Dion, we're back, bro. Back with the tattoos, Wagwizzy. You know what I mean?
Can you hear me?
Of course I can hear you, gang. How you doing?
All right. Beautiful, bro. Yeah, I think your live got banned. I don't know what for.
So I actually read it out on screen. So I said that my live got banned because I said that we hate Muslims more than Aryans. Okay, so
I wonder who's in control of that.
I don't know, bro.
Those Mark Zuckerberg people.
Don't know, bro. See what I mean? Them perennialists go crazy. But
No, they do. But
so-
yeah, I don't know where we were, brother. But
course,
is it
go.
okay if I hear your position?
Ugh.
I think that's good that I understand.
Okay,
Your
so
position, then I say my position. So
I think that Muslims don't worship the same God. One, I think that the thing that Muslims refer to when they say one God or one creator isn't the actual thing. I also, okay, 1 second before we continue. Do you hate when people speak like this? Like when they
you speak like
I
that.
know, I hate it because I hear all these debaters. I'm so sorry. I'm trying not to. So let's say for example, so I think Muslims and Christians don't worship the same God. Number one, because when Muslims refer to God, for example, they're not referring to the same thing that Christians are referring to. So that's one argument. Another argument can be that when Muslims refer to God, they're not actually referring to anything that exists in reality. So this is different from them referring to a demon. They're actually referring to a thing that doesn't even exist, or that there's a failure in reference, or we call referential failure. The third thing is that worship is an act of faith. Muslims do not have faith, therefore Muslims don't worship God. Even if they had the same referent. So this is assuming that they had the same referent. In order to worship God, you need to have faith. Muslims don't have faith, therefore they don't worship God. This is modus tollens. Those are my 3 cases against the whole worship the same God thing.
Okay. So my question to that would be, Paul, I can hear an echo, brother.
Hold on.
It's those headphones, bro. They're too good, man.
Those headphones are the headphones are very bad, man. Hold on, give me 1 second, bro. Give me 1 second because I might just have my mic way too loud. Like the gain might just be way too crazy. All right, how about now? Is there an echo?
No, brother. No,
All
you're
right.
good.
God bless you. Okay, let's continue in the light of good faith on the conversation, Dion. Let's go. Of course, man. Thank you so much for letting me know that. Actually.
So, the only thing that kind of boggles me, I hear myself again. I think when you get closer to the mic with your headphones, yeah. Wait, go away from the mic. Like, go away. Hello. See, it's your headphones, brother. I can hear like your headphones are too loud. I can hear myself.
Oh, okay.
Your
Here's
mic's
what I'm. Yeah. I see.
Your mic's picking up from your headphones. Yeah.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
It's all good. I don't hear an echo. Yeah, we're good.
No, I
Yeah,
just
we're
put my
good.
volume down. That's why. Okay, I see.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah, the only thing in regard to like the referent and talking about worship like faith, I wouldn't disagree that faith or worship would acquire faith.
Okay.
But we do see cases though And I believe they're logical cases, like how I mentioned earlier with Acts 17 about the pagan Areopagites that Paul was speaking to, and they had an altar to the unknown God, and it says that they were worshiping this unknown God, and Paul came to reveal to them who this God is that they were worshiping, and denotes it as Jesus. And St. John Chrysostom also agrees with this interpretation, and I didn't get to read it to you. I don't know if you'd like. It's a homily 38 on the Acts of Apostles, if you want the exact
Yeah, I actually
citation.
have homily 38 opened here.
Okay,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Mhm.
Would you like me to read it for you? Or
Please
what do you want
do.
to read?
What section of the homily would you like to read?
What section of the homily?
Hmm.
Let me see. Let me pull it up.
So, do you think they knew that God exists, but they just didn't know enough about it?
So, I think that they understood because, see, within the context, they have other gods with them, like Zeus,
Zeus,
Aphrodite.
Minifer, Aphrodite, everyone, everything. Yes,
Exactly.
yes, yes.
And of course, they had statues of them, but to
Hmm.
this unknown god, they didn't have a statue to it. They didn't know.
Hmm.
And they were worshiping this unknown god, and Paul came to reveal who they were.
Well,
Now,
John.
I have. Okay, go ahead, brother.
No. Please go ahead, because this is. I have John Chrysostom open. So, importantly, I'll give you my position on what the verse actually says. I think what's going on is the Areopagus, the Greeks in general, and this is something that's congruent with the history. When it comes to the gods that they would revere, they were very, very superstitious. And due to their superstition, they would simply revere as many gods as possible that they knew of. But the problem is they also knew that there may be random gods in different places. Right? Many gods and many lords in different lands that they've never heard of. So they erected one altar to just to ascribe every single other god that they do not know exists or whatever to this one pillar. So this is like the sort of Paul general. You have your statue for Zeus, statue for Minerva, statue for Juno, statue for Aphrodite, statue for Hephaestus. And then you might think of, oh, well, there might be some random god in China that we don't know about, or some random god in England. So let's just make one pillar to an unknown god. So any unknown god that we don't know about, this is your thing. Now, they don't actually know what they're referring to, but they know that it might be something out there some way in somewhere. But they're not actually trying to pick out this unknown god that they've discovered. They're just trying to make sure that they fill up all the other dots. That's my position. Would you agree?
I wouldn't disagree wholeheartedly because it would make sense, right? That they would have, let's say, some type of fear saying, well, we believe in all these gods. We don't want to like leave one out, right? But when Paul denotes and he comes to them and says, I've come to reveal to you who this God is, right? Paul's like seeing them in reference to like a singularity, meaning that this unknown God, right? It's in the singular, like even within the Greek, it's in the singular, right? And I would say Paul, continuing on from that, he then reveals to them that this God is Jesus Christ, and even towards the end of it, right, it says some wanted to hear him, right? Meaning after being formalized to the gospel, when Paul heard them, they were like, okay, Paul, we'll hear you out. And one of them was Dionysius, the Areopagite, who was
Saint Dionysius the
within
Areopagite. Yeah.
exactly. But then others, they said, no, this guy's talking foolish, right? So how I see here is after these people who were worshiping God unknowingly, after they got formalized, because Christ says to worship him in spirit and in truth.
Do you think that
some of them listened to? Yeah, go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
I would like to ask you a question to circle back to that. I agree with you that it's actually in the singular. What I don't agree with you is that it's in the definite. So say, for example, I ask you...
Explain that for me.
I'll explain it for you. So we can refer to things in reality in a singular text, like, let's say, a pink highlighter, an orange highlighter, and a blue highlighter, right? And what I'm going to do is, you can see these three colors, right? This is pink, this is blue, this is orange, right? I'm going to put up a finger for each one of these three highlighters. But I also know that there may be other colors that I've never seen before. So I'm going to put this up for an unknown color. Now, the term an unknown color is in the singular, but it's referring to a plurality of items that might be part of that. So that could be, red, that could be black, which is a shade, or white, or whatever. But even though there's multiple different things that fit that bill, there is still only one aspect that I'm referring to all of them, which is the fact that I don't know. In fact, the term is agnostotheo, which just means an unknown God. There's no definite article there. So what I think the actual text is saying is, and what I think John Chrysostom knew by that text is, the Greeks probably knew that there was a God, right? That they knew of gods that exist because they just try to make sure that they don't mess up, that they include as many gods as possible. This links with the idea of the Pax Deorum, or the peace of the gods. But how do you have peace amongst the gods if you don't know all the gods? Simple. You make one altar for every god that you don't know. So instead of making thousands of different altars trying to guess, you just make one that describes all the gods.
Easier.
Exactly. So I don't think they're saying to the unknown god. They're just saying to an unknown god, any god that they don't know. Do you want to go through John Chrysostom?
Sure, yeah, we can.
God bless you. So if we go to John Chrysostom's thing,
it's yeah, it's okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Homily 38 here, right? I got it on the screen for you. So what we're concerned with is this idea of the unknown God, right? He puts it by way of economium, right? He puts it with, sorry, not economium, encomium.
This is New Advent?
Yep.
Yep, okay.
So notice here, he says, I don't want to use the term that is, really bad, which is this word, but rather he uses the term eusebite. And eusebite means that they are just simply religiously disposed, or that they're very, superstitious. So rather than say, I know you guys are polytheists, he says, I know you guys, recognize a lot of divine tradition. He's trying to be nice.
He sees this by the other statues of Zeus.
Exactly.
Aphrodite,
But Paul knows that they're polytheists, bro. He knows, bro. So that's why he's using the word. Now he says, as I passed by your devotions, I found an altar with his inscription, to an unknown God. So any unknown God. What therefore you ignorantly worship. And by ignorantly worship, he means you worship any God that you don't know. So we're just going to say, hey, we, recognize any God that we don't know. This God I declare to you. Now, if we go back here, it actually doesn't use the word again. It actually doesn't use the word proskunesis, which is the word of worship. The actual word that's used is eusebite. And eusebite just means to apply reverence. So they revere any unknown God.
On the
yeah, the word can mean to worship, as you can see. It just means to show piety.
Show piety, worship.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think they were just showing piety to it, or do you think
I think they were just being like mad respectful, gang. And the reason I think that is because the only other time this is used is in 1 Timothy. And it's used in 1 Timothy 5:4, right? In reference to things that are piety, that are pious. It doesn't say, this is the text, right? It doesn't say worship at home and repay your parents. It says show piety. It's actually just the context of, people that are older in the household showing piety to people that are younger in the household. And the context of the chapter is literally that the Areopagites, the Greeks, are very pious because they recognize that there might be things that they don't know, so they want to pay their respects to it, even though they don't know it. They're not worshipping it because they don't know what it is, right? But they are going to pay their respect to the possibility that there's something out there that they don't know. And so that's why
were they just showing piety also to the other statues and deities as well, or were they giving those things proskuneo?
So where Paul talks about the idea of other other gods that they're worshipping here, Paul says that he doesn't necessarily commit to whether or not there is this idea of, eusebite again. But actually, the word that is used is sebasma. And sebasma does mean an object that you worship. Now, I know that because it's also used in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 4. And in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 4, it specifically says that same phrase that is used to worship. And I can show that here, actually. If I go to 2 Thessalonians 2, go to verse 4, this is the great apostasy. who opposes and exalts himself. This is the Antichrist, right? He opposes and exalts himself above all that's called God or that is worshipped, so that he sits as God in the temple of God. So the term does mean to worship there. But it says that I look at all the other gods that you worship, and then there is this other statue that they simply just respect. They don't worship it.
Wouldn't you say Eusebius is also like another way to say godliness?
Yeah,
Showing
it just means pious. It just means piety. Like Eusebius just means pious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, you don't think that they could have been showing piety and also proskuneo to the unknown God as well, as
What?
long as the unknown God being in context with the other altars and statues they made, because they were obviously giving proskuneo to those statues. Wouldn't it not
Yes.
make sense that they would give proskuneo to the unknown God that they don't know, just in case as well, not just simply piety?
Perhaps. But it's not clear with this verse. I think Paul actually just makes a distinction between the way that he treats these other gods that they do know and the way that he treats this God that he doesn't know. I think he makes that very clear.
Mm-hmm. And do you believe this God that they were showing piety for was Christ?
Paul interprets that as Christ, because there is only one God. He's the God of all gods. But what the Greeks meant was that this just refers to, any kind of God that comes around in the picture.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'd have to do more research in regards to that. I can definitely see where you're coming to that conclusion.
Let's do this then. So if we look at John Chrysostom makes this interesting point. He says, to an unknown God, he says, the Athenians, namely, as on many occasions, they had received gods from foreign parts also. And they know that because Athens is one particular part of the Greek... Athens is one part of the Delian League, and there are other parts in the Peloponnese that people don't, worship. They're two completely different states, or like sort of sections of land. They have the Temple of Minerva, Pan, and others from different countries, being afraid that there might be some other god not yet known to them, but worshipped elsewhere. For more assurance, forsooth, they erected an altar to that god also. And as the god was not known, it was inscribed to an unknown god. This god then, he tells them, is Christ, or rather, the God of all the gods that they were thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what John Chrysostom is saying. So rather than the Greeks actually worshipping God, they just respect the fact that they don't know enough.
See, I could agree with that. I could agree with respecting, in regards to piety, not knowing enough, and etc.
So then they can't worship, according to John
but
Chrysostom anyway.
Well, yeah. But the thing is, though, in regards to the context of them having the other altars around them, they were definitely giving them proskuneo. And I think within that general context of them, they would also give proskuneo to the unknown God as well.
Why would they give proskuneo
so
to the
they could
unknown
feel
God?
safe and more secure?
Well,
and
here's the thing.
not just showing piety or honor, but also
the problem is
showing them proskuneo, like worship as well.
Okay, but the
So I'd
problem
say
is
that's like part of their scrupulosity.
I don't think
as
you can
well.
hear me. Wow, is that
Oh, did
what
you
I
go
do to
somewhere?
people? No, I was here. I was listening to the whole time. So that problem. That being said, there are times where Paul explicitly says that these are objects of worship, but then he doesn't call the altar an object of worship. He just calls it an object of piety.
Mm-hmm.
So he makes that difference. This God that you are pious towards. And there are times where Paul uses the word proskunesis everywhere to refer to worship and bowing down. He never refers to it here. In fact, there's never a time when this term actually does mean that. It just means to be pious. The biblical definition of the term, anyway, from what we can see, contextually just means to show piety towards. So, want to move on to the next guest? That's okay?
Oh, you don't want to speak to me no more, brother?
No. I want to speak to Yusuke. And then after I speak to Yusuke, I've been live for around 2 hours, 28 minutes. So I'm going to shut down the live and I'm going to be done. But I'm going to leave this VOD. I'm going to leave this VOD up.
When's the next time you're going to be live?
Probably maybe tomorrow. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I'll keep because I only knew you were live because of TikTok. Like
see, bro, TikTok is sick, man. I'm actually pissed,
bro. Because I wanted to continue more in regards, I do think people who are, ignorant and within their heart want to worship God, they'll do that to the best of their capabilities,
Facts.
and I think that it plays, with the Muslims. But I do believe, as Lumen Gentium states, after people have been formalized through the gospel and they reject it, they no longer worship God but a creature. So, but we can continue this,
Oh
another
my
time when you're
days.
live, brother. Yeah,
Guys,
sorry about
I got a TikTok strike on my channel, bro. I just got a strike.
Yeah, sorry if there was any animosity on my end on
No, I
the.
don't have any animosity. I'm fine. Oh my
Is there a limit on
gosh.
how many strikes you can get?
There's, bro. I might have to open up a new. I might have to just create a new TikTok account.
My gosh, I hope we get that fixed, man.
This is actually
All right, well,
really bad.
God bless you guys. Thank you for having me up. We'll speak again
No,
next time on this topic. Sig. God bless you.
All right,
Thank
God
you
bless
for
you,
having
man. Take care.
Yo, Sig.
Yo.
Yo, you're actually the first person to get to pronounce my name right. people pronounce it like Yusuke and all types of.
Nah, bro. That's actually
crazy.
disgusting, bro. Sorry, you scared. Sorry, bro.
It's from you. It's from you, Hakusho.
Yeah, Yu Hakusho, right? Like the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You scare your Urameshi. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Question. I don't mean to waste your time. Are you only taking like disagreeers or like proponents of the Catholic position?
Well, you are now the only person in the guest request, so you have the power to ask me whatever you want.
Okay, we're good. So I had a question. Actually, well, first I had a question, and then I had a potential syllogism I can show you that maybe you could look over and see if it.
Oh, if that's the case, then just do that off stream because that's going to take some time. Okay.
Okay, I got you. Okay,
Yeah,
so,
add me on Instagram or Discord, and then we can get to chopping.
Okay, got you. So the first question that I had for you was, could there be an argument made, because obviously we're talking about like a referential difference. So could there be an argument made that Allah doesn't even fit the quote unquote proper conditions to be referred to as the uncreated creator to qualify him as God?
Yes, you could actually. And this is an argument from referential failure. So you could argue that when they say the term Allah, they're not actually referring to the one God. They're actually referring to a particular entity that they think can fulfill that criteria, but actually can't.
Right, and you could say that he doesn't have the necessary like omni properties, right?
Or whatever you want to say, yeah. But think of it like this, right? I'm going to tell you the King of France is bald. Actually, no, the King of America is bald. Do you agree or disagree?
I disagree.
Why?
There is no King of America.
No, but I'm referring to the King of America. Like the King of America is bald.
But there's no king.
See? So you can still disagree on something even though you're referring to a thing that doesn't exist.
Interesting. Okay. Okay, can you break that down a little bit? Because I think I got it, but I want to make sure that I have like the actual.
So referential failure occurs where the idea of disagreement is when someone believes that a proposition is true and someone else believes a proposition is false, or they are indeterminate on whether it's true or false. This is where disagreement happens. Now, if you think a statement is false, then you are disagreeing with me that the statement is true. But a statement can be false for many other reasons. Maybe it doesn't fulfill the particular criteria for being true. Or maybe the thing that they're actually talking about doesn't refer to anything at all.
Wait, can I ask a question on that? So are you basically saying that if the statement itself is unintelligible, then
you can't agree to it?
You would naturally have to disagree with it. Okay, I think I get it.
Well, that's why you disagree with things that are illogical, because they don't make sense.
Yeah, because they necessarily don't exist.
But there are things which don't even speak on anything. Like, for example, blah 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 is the true God.
I get no information from blah.
Yeah,
blah,
what the actual fuck? No, I'm kidding. What the hell is blah blah blah? Do you know what I mean? See what I'm saying? But of course you disagree, bro. It don't make no sense. Exactly.
Okay,
man.
I guess I have one more question, and then I guess I can hop out of here. You can chop up. Maybe we could chop it up on Instagram or something.
Amen.
Yeah, for that syllogism, because I have an idea. But the other question I would have is, because I've seen a lot of people who would defend Vatican II say, well, no, Muslims actually are referring to the God of Abraham, slash the creator. They just have a different, or they have a different idea of God's nature, but they're still referring to the same God. But I guess my problem with that would be if we know that the identity of that creator or who that creator is, then wouldn't it not make sense to like divorce the I don't want to say the attributes, but like the qualities of that God from the identity of that God? Does that make sense? Does that like do you get like where I'm getting on that?
Repeat that again. Repeat that again.
How do I want to explain this? Like, okay, like I'll hear a Catholic say, "Oh, well, Muslims are talking about the Christian God because they're referring to the Creator and the God of Abraham. They just have a different idea as to God's nature." But I'm like, if God's nature is inextricably tied towards His identity, then it feels like you can't divorce the I don't want to say like essential properties, but like the essential aspects of God from His identity.
Yeah. So
It
the
doesn't
thing
feel
that
like
you're saying is when we use terms like reference, okay, theories of reference don't have anything to do with properties, even though they do. But for this explanation, you're going to understand why I say that. Yusuke, are you black?
Yes.
If I say the black guy is cool, does that mean that I'm talking about you or am I talking about me?
It could refer to any black person.
Right. So this term doesn't actually pick out a specific person. See what I mean? Neither does the term one creator. Because you don't know if it's the Father, Son, or Spirit that you're talking about. You could be talking about one of them, two of them, three of them. Doesn't pick out anyone. So when we talk about the term black guy, it's not an actual term that you use for reference. So what you use, terms that you use for reference are proper names like Mount Everest, Mount Kilimanjaro, Sig, Daniel, David, Jerome, Augustine, Yusuke. These are proper nouns, and these proper nouns bear this sort of characteristic of being able to pick you.
Yeah.
One creator doesn't do that.
Okay, another thing. So, would it be okay? Well, okay. I have a, I guess I wouldn't say a proposition, but more like a. Well, I'll just ask it, and then you can correct me if I'm wrong. I would say that if you take the statement in Vatican II to its logical conclusion, you would end up with a statement that effectively says Muslims worship God without worshiping Christ. Would that be accurate?
Yeah.
So
that's what they want you to say. See the problem with that?
Yeah, because Christ is God.
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
You see, I'm trying to get into philosophy, but I can see I can't put it in exactly like philosophical terminology.
That's fine.
yet,
You
but
don't need to. You
the-
do not need to. Learning the content is so that you can help further express yourself. But you got the thinking. That's all you need to do.
Okay.
There you go.
Because like the thing is another thing too is that I think people seem to forget that I guess you could say like the Old Testament references to the Trinity or like the theophanies in the Old Testament or whatever.
Sure.
And that Abraham worshipped Christ as God. And so to say
the God of Abraham is
Muslims
Jesus.
worship the God of Abraham, and we already know that the God of Abraham is Jesus. Unless you're willing to say that Muslims knowingly acknowledge Christ as God.
Now, here's what I would ask you. Why would you even grant that the Muslims are talking about the same Abraham?
Why would I grant Muslims are talking about the same Abraham?
Yeah. Why would you even think that Muslims are talking about the same Abraham?
That's a good question. Well, actually this goes.
Think about it like this, right?
Ooh, okay.
Think about it like this way. Sorry for interrupting you.
Oh, you're good.
Do you think that when a Muslim says Abraham, that they're okay? When you say Abraham, what do you mean?
the biblical figure in the book of Genesis primarily?
They don't mean that.
They don't mean. Would you say they have a reimagined conception of Abraham, or would you
They
say
have
they have?
the conception of like Abraham, as in the reference, right? Think about it. When the Catholic Church says Abraham, they are referring to the figure that you see in the biblical text. When Muslims are referring to Abraham, they are referring to the figure that you see in the Quran.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's the big difference.
Right, but the problem would be that they're hijacking it from the biblical text.
We
You could
can, and
argue.
that's a separate arg. That's a separate arg, right? But right now, we're just saying when they say they adore the God of Abraham, the God of Abraham for the Muslims is not the same as the God of Abraham for the Christians, because not only are the gods not the same, the Abrahams are not the same.
Right. So that could also apply to Isa in the Quran, right? And Jesus.
But why do we get angry? Because they take our words. That's the point, right? Because Isa comes from the Greek name Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually are taking from the Greek Hellenistic word for Jesus, but they've not actually referred to that Hellenistic Jesus, but some other idea of Jesus only present in the Quran. Because if you ask them, is the Jesus of the Bible the same as the Jesus of the Quran? They will say, no, I'm referring to two different people. Why?
Yeah, they
Because
would
the
say
Bible's
yeah,
because the
yeah,
Bible's
yeah.
corrupted.
They would say no because they either say that like the Bible's corrupted, or that in the Bible Jesus claims to be a deity, and
Exactly.
so they would and so they themselves would draw a distinction between the true Jesus of the Quran, so to speak, or the true Isa of the Quran and the false Jesus in the Bible. That's probably what they would end up saying.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't mean to take too much of your time. Sorry to bother you, but I can like chop it up with you later in Instagram or whatever if that's cool.
Of
All right,
course.
got you. Yeah, got you, man. Hey, I appreciate the talk, man. First time on your channel, so
Hey, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully I've been nice, bro. Hopefully I've been nice. All right.
yeah, you've been good. Man. Hey,
God bless. God bless.
Yeah, got you, bro.
Appreciate you, gang. All right, guys, we're gonna end the live stream. We're gonna end the live stream. We're gonna end the live stream. Okay. Thank you so much for everybody listening to the stuff that I was talking about. I really did appreciate it. I really did like it. Okay. This was really, really fun. This is very, very fun to do. Genuinely, like I really did enjoy it. Like, hopefully you guys learned a bunch of stuff, like hopefully I wasn't too crazy or too bad as a person. But yeah, this is something that I really did. Bro, I'm not gonna lie, like I keep saying that I enjoyed it, but like I did enjoy it, so thank you guys for doing that,